6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with the Honorable Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. Sometimes pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Kristi Burton Brown will be joining us, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado. They got enough signatures in to help lower your taxes. So we'll be talking with them about a ballot initiative you're going to be seeing on your ballot this November. As well, talking with Megan Kaltenbach Burke of the Independent Women's Network about the effort to stop those dudes from participating in ladies' sports. She'll be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour on another ballot initiative you'll see here in Colorado. And then there was a threat made to Representative Ron Weinberg, Colorado State Rep, Republican, the only Jewish Republican in the state house, and he's going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour about the steps he's had to take to protect his family. That is wild, especially in light of what happened to President Trump recently. Yeah. You think maybe turn the temperature down on some of the political rhetoric out there.
I don't think we want to, honestly, personally. I don't think we want to. I think we like it.
Isn't it amazing how we just kind of like shrugged and moved on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Weinberg will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. So great show covering the ballot initiatives you're going to face on your ballot this year, as well as, hopefully keeping our political leaders safe there. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 60 as the sun comes up in Denver, expecting a high of 95 today, hoping the smoke from Canada clears out. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Thornton police investigating a shooting that injured an officer and a suspect early this morning. It occurred west of I-25 near Thornton Parkway and Gale Boulevard near Federal Heights outside an apartment complex. Thornton Parkway was closed in both directions last hour. A lot of activity in the area. The officer is expected to be okay. No information on the suspect. Maybe some delays in the area on your way to work.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
President Biden will address the nation tonight at 6 Denver time from the Oval Office. This will be his first on-camera appearance since he, air quotes, dropped out of the race on Sunday. Biden told his campaign workers over the phone dropping out was the right thing to do.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
I tell you, I can't take it no more.
Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu will deliver an address to Congress today with one notable absence. VP Kamala Harris will not preside over his address to Congress, as vice presidents typically do. Instead, she'll travel to Indianapolis for an event scheduled before launching her presidential campaign. She'll be spending time with her sorority sisters, the AKAs, Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated.
No way.
Ski-week, ski-week, ski-week.
Yes.
That's
I love the AKAs.
She is spending the day with her sorority sisters and not the Prime Minister of Israel during a historic address to joint Congress?
Evidently, however, she will have a meeting with Netanyahu.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, but I'm sure the protesters won't see her. She'll do it in secret. She always will be supporting the Hamas supporters first. You can count on that.
I will never attempt to stifle or silence young people from expressing their concerns. That is part of what we do in a democracy, is allow that to occur. My position on the issue remains, as I've repeated now a couple of times, But it is important that we create environments for our young leaders to express themselves.
I mean, really, Harris is one of the greatest insiders of violence of all time.
This is a movement. I'm telling you, they're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Remember that in 2020, some 200 people arrested Tuesday at a pro-Hamas rally in a congressional building on Capitol Hill.
Here we come, walking down the street.
Almost time for the DNC in Chicago. Chuck Schmucky Schumer officially showed his support for the Democrats' newly installed candidate on Tuesday.
So now that the process is played out from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
I saw that video. Oh, channeling Jeb Bush. Please clap. But you don't have to.
Weird.
I'll clap.
Listen, yeah, you got to hear the end one more time.
The process is played out
and just listen
from the
to
grassroots
it. It is
bottom
so
up. We are
weird.
here today.
Here we go.
To
Just
throw our
listen.
support
It's
behind
so
Vice
bad. Here we go.
President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Amazing.
Oh, it seems so contrived.
God,
The effort to just kind of
is.
prop her up. You know?
It is. She's installed. I mean, they're the ones talking about democracy. Now I understand why they were pumping that up for 4 months leading up to it.
Will you
just
play?
ripping off?
Will
What do
you
mean?
play that ending again?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay,
So now that the process is played out.
Hold on a second. And we'll lead up to it. I don't know how to fast forward on this. Okay, here we go.
Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
What a creep. What a creep, man. Ooh, good morning. It's 6 o'clock. All right, here's Florida Congressman Brian Mast.
Vice President Harris does not give a rat's caboose. She doesn't care about the United States of America in any place, policy, anything that I've seen. The policies are the same crap policies that exist under Biden, just with a different face. And those policies are bad for America, bad for putting America first.
All right, back here in Colorado, following a recount, it's been announced that candidate Larry, I think it's Sukla, won the Republican primary for Colorado House District 58 by just 3 votes. Sukla will face Democratic candidate Kathleen Curry in November. A hydrothermal explosion at Yellowstone sent tourists running on Tuesday. It happened at the Biscuit Basin Geyser. A column of hot water, mud, and rock shot out of the ground. Tourists at a nearby walkway ran for safety. There were no reports of injuries.
Dude, that video is crazy. Especially, is it 2012?
Mm-hmm.
The movie
Yes.
where
Yes, I
Woody
think so.
Harrelson
That's
is in Yellowstone.
right. Yeah.
He's like
Yeah, I
the
remember
crazy
that.
broadcaster, and then the
Uh-huh.
volcano explodes from Yellowstone.
Right.
So
Yep.
so the funny thing about my wife and her love of movies is that the top genre for Nicole Hunt is not romantic comedies. It is
Thank God for you.
It is natural disaster movies.
Really?
And she will watch them over and over. So like San Andreas and The Rock, she's probably watched that 100 times. It's like her
Really?
go-to movie is anything natural. So we have watched 2012 or whatever movie it is where he's driving around the John Cusack. He's driving around in a limousine, and Woody Harrelson is in Yellowstone. So when I saw the video, which is crazy, like it's like a volcano just popped up out of Yellowstone yesterday. I'm like, oh my goodness,
man.
here we go.
Man, Your wife is one of a kind, isn't she?
Yes.
Man,
And
you don't have to watch those chick flicks, man.
Nope, not at all. She kind of
awesome.
she'll get into those historical PBS dramas, but she just does this by herself.
Uh-huh.
But guess what? On Sunday, Twisters, man, we're going to see that movie, and she's super pumped about it.
That, man. No, I've been too close to those things.
Oh,
man.
really?
In East Texas, man, and I'm like,
you got like PTSD when you watch those?
Oh God, yeah. I don't need to go into a movie theater and watch those things, man. I lived through a couple close ones. I mean,
really,
Alabama and. You know, that stuff, man. That's one reason I don't live down there. I can't handle that, man.
Like you were in
10 miles away. No, I wasn't like in the eye of it, but you know, you could feel it. And then
really,
you know, one kind of went another direction in the Tyler area when I lived there early in my 20s. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it just, you know, devastated one town. I mean, it happens all the time in Kansas, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Those storm chasers, man, those tornado guys in Texas. I used to work with those guys, man. Oh, wow. And in Oklahoma, man, they are nuts. There's no way. I just can't handle it, man.
But the
can't
original
go to a movie theater and watch that.
I understand that. The original Twister movie, though, with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, is one of the best of all time.
Good, yeah.
You've never even seen the original, huh?
No, I can't. No way.
Oh,
I worked with too many of those meteorologists down there, and they and just the real life stuff and the video that they would bring back, and then being in the middle where you're in a severe thunderstorm, and you're like, that Joker is headed right here, right where I live, and it's like, you know, there aren't basements. You know, in the Panhandle there are in Texas, but you know, a lot of places in East Texas there are no basements, so it's kind of frightening. So I'm not a big fan.
I understand. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either if I had to live through all that.
Good for your wife, though. Hey, the Red Sox shut out the Rockies 6-0. Getaway day today at Coors. First pitch 1:10. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 56 in Arvada, 58 in Highlands Ranch, and 60 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue.
Old white guys, good old white guys, young white guys.
It's Hump Day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 7-10 5-day forecast. A smoky haze and continued hot. Highs will be 90s today, 90s on Thursday, low 90s Friday. Today and Thursday will be smoky, hazy, and dry. Nights in the 60s. Not as hazy and smoky. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Todd Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, it looks like we may really have a debate, but then maybe not.
Yeah.
Trump says he would be willing to do more than one debate with Vice President Harris. Here's coming from Fox News reporting. Former President Trump says he's open to debating Vice President Harris more than once as the two face off in the 2024 presidential election. Absolutely, I'd want to. I think it's important, Trump said Tuesday. When asked by Fox News' Bill Milligan on a conference call with reporters if he would commit to debating Harris at least once, I'd be willing to do it more than one debate, actually. But then minutes later, Trump noted, I haven't agreed to anything. Yeah. I agreed to debate with Joe Biden.
Yeah, so he's agreeing and disagreeing at the same time. That's weird. Never a politician takes both sides of an issue, but often doesn't happen within 70 seconds. Yeah. Okay.
So you think it's gonna happen?
I am skeptical.
I'm skeptical too.
Yeah, I think it will, but I don't think Trump wants to really. I understand this image of him being this tough guy fighter, but he doesn't necessarily want those type of situations. If he did, he would have got up on the stage during the Republican primary. And the reason being, if he is such a badass and he is so dominant and so good at this, then he could have gone in there and frog stomped everybody and there wouldn't have been anyone left. He could have, in one Republican primary debate, taken out DeSantis, Haley, Burgum, everybody would have been gone. But he didn't. He shied away from that situation and that setup. And there was even some questions as far as what was going on with Biden. And this one is difficult for him because it's not the same thing as debating Hillary. This is someone that is a former prosecutor. And that's different only because of how they think. And that's the thing is, you talk about it. We had Chris Murray in here yesterday. And we have a good friend of the show, George Brockler. Lawyers think differently. Good friend of the show, Dan Kaplis. Lawyers think differently. Yep. And you have a wife that is a legal mind. Lawyers think differently. I'm certain there are times in the Hunt household where you turn to your wife and you're like, what the hell? But not that she's wrong, but you're like, that's the thought process that she is going through is just so different.
Well, it's the cross-examination.
Yes. Yes, exactly, Mr. Hunt. When did you decide not to load the dishwasher?
Exactly. That is exactly right. So.
Yes, you recall, Mr. Hunt, this morning when we talked about these coffee marks on the countertop. Were we or were we not standing right here, sir?
Please read from the highlighted testimony.
Yes, from the transcript of my text messages earlier today about who was going to pick up our son at practice. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's it. So it's going to be difficult for him, but I haven't seen her in many debates in the Democrat primary. It's a little bit different. She did okay at times and not okay in others.
Right.
I think that Trump can shake her in certain ways. But he would have to understand which attacks to go after. The only thing that is dangerous for Trump is that it is a woman, and it's not fair. But you understand the idea, and it's not fair for Kamala either. Their performances. If he becomes domineering and seems like he's attacking her too much, he makes her a victim.
Yeah.
But if she attacks him too much, she becomes the angry B word. And then she can't be president. It's a really interesting dynamic.
It'll be fascinating to watch how this could come together. I think Donald Trump loves the main stage fight. So go back to kind of the MMA, boxing, two big legends, one fight night, all the attention, all the lights. This guy has loved that from the very beginning. And I think if the campaign builds that way. So here's what I'm fascinated to watch right now as the political strategist kind of background of me. Are we watching just a Kamala Harris bump? So, kind of a natural, we were like Chris Murray said yesterday on the show, at least we have somebody with a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So everybody's excited. You get this energy. I mean, Monday, Billy, when we had so many Democrats calling and were positing who the VP pick could be, it was interesting to watch the almost delight.
Yeah, and Chris Murray mentioned it after his interview with us yesterday, how excited he's heard the Democrats sound. It's exactly what you're saying.
So I'm trying to reason through, is this just a temporary bump that would take place naturally in politics? And once the Republican machine kicks in and they're picking apart her record, which they're already starting to do with ads and stuff like that, that she'll drop in the polls. Or
it's kind of like the generic candidate question. You're familiar with this. It's like, what do you think of Representative Smith against a generic Republican or Democrat? It doesn't matter. It's just always the opposite party. And generic always wins because everybody can assume the generic Republican has their same views. So generic always wins. Yes.
That idea of projection.
Yep.
Or will this really shape up to a 50-50 battle between now and November with not necessarily the candidates, but the machines fighting. So the Republicans versus the Democrats. And it is going to be a big fight. And like I just mentioned, you were grabbing a phone call there, Billy. Donald Trump loves the idea of a main stage fight night. MMA, boxing, coming out, all the cameras on, all the lights, the entire attention of the nation. So I would see him wanting to get to a debate if the stakes get that high.
Yeah.
But if Kamala just kind of withers over the next few weeks as, the Republican machine picks up, then I think he'll probably pass on it. That's how I could see it playing out.
Yeah. And I would say that if he starts to demur and starts to back away, we talked about it with Ted Trimpa Monday, the attack that I would, if I was in the Kamala campaign, would be, dude's afraid of a girl. What's he afraid of? That's where I would come at him. I would hit the ego side of it and say, he's so afraid of a girl. Why is he afraid of the girl? And I would just routinely sit there and say, afraid. He says this. But when it's time to get in the ring, can't do it.
Yeah,
and
that'd be a fun line of attack.
And I would have WWE, stuff and things like that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Let's go to the phone lines. Corey, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just had to call in this morning. Say, look, I've been a career prosecutor for 35 years. I'm a graduate of the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, which has the best prosecutorial program in the United States.
Wow.
Kamala Harris is no prosecutor. George Brackler, he's a prosecutor. He's a trial attorney. So am I. But Kamala Harris graduated from Hastings College of Law, which is the lowest ranked law college that I know of. That's the place where people are desperate to get a law degree. Only they'll go there. So she's got no credentials. She was an administrator, not an actual trial attorney, in my opinion. So please don't lump her in with folks like myself and George Brackler calling her a prosecutor. She's a very, very weak attorney, and she can't put a complete paragraph together.
So Corey,
Trump should not be worried.
I'm going to press back on you a little bit, and I just want to get your response. So, she rose to the top of the Democrat Party establishment in California. All right. That doesn't just happen easily. And if you're weak on your feet in a debate and you're just kind of an administrator, I don't necessarily see that happening. It's kind of like if you rise to the top of the Republican Party in Texas, there's a lot of people that want that spot. And she was able to negotiate her way in her career up to the very, very top. Do you give her at least some credit for that?
No, she's a politician, right? There's a difference. I mean, we know some politicians that are high up and go, how the heck did they get there, right? As far as their debating skills or capacity to think on their feet, not necessarily. Kamala's really has her own problems, her own foibles. I mean, I just can't imagine the dichotomy between her and George Brackler are so far apart in their speaking skills and their debating skills. It's just, remember how she got killed by Gabby in the primary?
Yeah.
She was nowhere to be seen.
Well,
so California is a weird animal.
Yeah, but Corey, to be fair, a group debate is different than a one-on-one. It's a different, and it's a totally different setup, and it's hard to fight for that time. The advantage, I believe, that Kamala has is just like yourself and George, the training as far as cross-examination. We know that Donald J. Trump has, let's just say, a very casual relationship with the truth. And we know that she does at least have the basics of cross-examination. If she has been coached and works on the idea of his meandering, wandering responses that aren't going to be grounded in reality, even with her bad cross-examination skills, that is a tremendous advantage and is a huge weakness for Donald Trump in my mind.
I agree. Look, I was a Nikki Haley fan. I'm supporting Trump because the opposite is just crazy. But you need to bring George Brockler in to talk about this, because as far as cross-examination skills go, George is a god. And I mean that with all due sincerity. If you saw him in the Aurora Theater trial, cross-examined as expert witness, perfect model. Guy's a monster when it comes to cross-examination. She doesn't have those same skills.
Corey, you're right here. I'm going to share a secret with you, Jeff, and our listeners right now. When George was hosting the show and I was behind the scenes, his cross-examination skills would come into play early in the morning when we were trying to work on topics. There were moments where we were yelling at each other down the hallway. It was never personal, but yeah, dude is solid. We had so much fun in the morning at times going back and forth. And he's like, but what about this? And I'm like, God darn it. Yeah, he's really good. You are absolutely right. His cross-examination skills are next level.
There's two things, though, that we're not taking into consideration. Yeah. One, Donald Trump does not fight the same way, I would say, that the intellectual elite like to fight. This is why Republicans in debates couldn't deal with him. Like, he would come up and talk about Marco Rubio's little hands. And it was such a kind of street level jab that Marco, who'd been educated and, and it was a U.S. senator, just couldn't wrap his mind around how to respond. Or when Ted Cruz's father, was somehow involved with JFK's assassination.
And he called Ted Cruz's wife ugly, and he did nothing. Cruz did nothing about it.
It's so. The reason why is because for their entire careers, they've never had to deal with that. Yeah. So they can't wrap their brains around how to respond to it. So that's one area where I think Kamala is just not going to know what to do with him. Okay. But secondly, and Corey, going to your point on like George Brockler versus Kamala Harris, look, George is a great prosecutor, but Kamala Harris is in office in leadership. Right? Like, she has now risen to the top of her state. She's now the vice president. She has found ways to win major elections, even if she's not that good of a prosecutor. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. But I just don't think Trump should be afraid of her. Her skills are not that good. I think she'd be exposed. I think her political aspirations as a politician in DEI-friendly California, I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed with her at all for her speaking skills. I respect Billy because he was a debater too, as I was, and so I understand exactly what you're saying, Billy. But I think I don't think Trump should be afraid. Debater.
Really,
she'll be exposed.
Oh, yeah. See, the thing for me, if I'm on the Trump side, it's the unmoored from reality. That's the part, because only if Kamala can come in and say, no, that's not true. That's not true. There's a thing about a veterans bill that was passed under Obama that Trump keeps taking credit for. If he sits there and goes, oh yes, and I did this and this, and she turns to him and goes, you don't even know what bills you passed. That was passed under Obama. How can you not know that? That's going to be hard for him. But and I think the other part is that Jeff was talking about the street fighting again. That's good when you're attacking another dude. When you're attacking a woman, you've got to be very careful in how Trump attacks. The Rosie O'Donnell attacks are going to go over like a fart in church. That's not going to work.
Oh my gosh. I think that was one of the greatest lines in a debate in all of political history.
Oh no, I'm talking about Rosie O'Donnell just calling her fat and ugly. Yeah, because he was going after Rosie at one point, and just like
right. But all you got to do, guys, is just keep on going back to the border. What have you done on the borders? The borders are. What have you done?
Smart.
Nothing. In there. I mean, he just needs to hammer that home, because again, the economy. It's the economy, stupid, right? I mean, you just need to focus on the bread and butter table issues. And Kamala can't hold the torch on the issues.
And of course,
her skills are not that good.
Corey,
don't be afraid.
I got a question for you, and I want to ask Jeff this as well. Now, this would never happen. Okay, so I understand that this premise that I'm putting forward is complete bupkis. This is crap. But if I am in the Democrat strategy room, I am telling Kamala and the Democrats to cede the top 2 or 3 most popular Trump/Republican immigration plans, steps, whatever that is it the remain in Mexico? Is it the reform here? Whatever tests the best. And what I would do is I would come out as Kamala. And again, this is so hard for any politician or any campaign or any party to do, to say, you know what? This was wrong. And yes, he's right on 1 and 2, and say, that's what we agree that we're going to do that. But look at the down list of stuff he's going to do, and look at the down list of stuff I'm going to do. And again, the only reason is if Kamala can take what is the biggest place of attack, most popular form of attack, away from the Democrats by seeding the argument, she then, in my mind, has a stronger argument. The problem is the cognitive dissonance. Nobody wants to come out publicly and admit they were wrong and that they have to change the policy. But if you take that off the table, the voters have the same basic popular policies in both parties. That's no longer a voting issue. Now the voting issue has to go further down the list. But there's no way in hell the Democrats are that smart. No way in hell.
Corey, I'll give you the final word, and then we've got to get to a break here.
Hey, you guys are awesome. You've got fantastic guests. I keep on listening to the show every morning as I'm walking to my dogs. I had to stop and call you guys. Thank you for everything you're doing. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Hey, Corey, it's having listeners like you that makes this show great. Thanks so much for the phone call.
Yeah, give your dog some belly rubs and some extra treats when you get home from us, because we're not responsible.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.
Corey from Colorado. His line will be open 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Kaplis and his law firm, Dan Kaplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. This guy is with us on the values, supports this radio station, has a great show himself. Man, Colorado is a better place because of Dan Kaplis. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He's also a former seminarian who has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. So not only is he a great guy, he's a titan in the courtroom. He's believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's such a reputable law firm that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. But he's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He'd be my first call if I needed help in an injury case, and he should be yours as well. Give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, where he will address a joint session of Congress. Protesters have promised a, quote, day of rage in the US Capitol over Israel's conduct during its ongoing war in Gaza. Ira Spitzer reports.
Benjamin Netanyahu's U.S. visit is his first trip abroad since the October 7th attacks by Hamas, which sparked the current phase of this conflict, which has now killed tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Vice President Kamala Harris, the expected Democratic presidential nominee, won't attend the congressional address, citing a scheduling conflict, but she is expected to meet Netanyahu as well as U.S. President Joe Biden later in the week. Netanyahu is also expected to meet the Republican nominee for President Donald Trump in Florida on Friday.
Florida is celebrating a new population milestone, passing 23 million inhabitants for the first time. The new census data shows the Sunshine State continues to grow, largely because of an influx of people moving from other states, adding 359,000 people in the last year alone. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Big opinion piece in the New York Times, Billy. Hillary Clinton wrote how Kamala Harris can win and make history.
Oh, wow.
History has its eyes on us.
I was surprising it was going to be, she stole my election. He's still mad about
this
that.
was mine.
Yes,
I was supposed to break that
yes,
glass
exactly.
ceiling.
It's like the she's and the funny thing is, okay, Wizard of Oz reference. She's like the other Wicked Witch. She's like, yeah, that's basically what it is. Sorry, I had to do that.
The opinion piece kind of still, and I just don't know how long this continues. And this is my question, Bill. How much of this kind of identity politics continues to be relevant and important? So the idea that we may have the first woman president, the first Black woman president, I'm just kind of like, does that matter to the electorate as much as issues, pocketbook issues, policies, those types of things? Like, I would love to hear somebody call in and go, you know what? I disagree with her policies, but it is necessary for America to break the glass ceiling. So I am crossing over to vote for Kamala Harris, because her editorial piece in the New York Times, right? Probably the greatest distribution of a newspaper in the world, only has really one or two paragraphs about policies, and the rest of it is kind of identity politics stuff.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel that's where we are as an electorate. We don't want policy, and the first exhibit that I would place on the table would be the Republican Party platform. It's 16 pages with not a single shred of actual policy, a bunch of ideas and wishes and goals, but actual functional, this is how we're going to accomplish this? Nothing at all. It's all about feeling good. And, and again, we've had someone on the show here that talked about how it wanted brevity, how they want it to be digestible. And that makes sense. And I see that same thing from the Democrat side as well, that we are about complaining and demagoguery, and then we do identity politics. Because here's the thing is, we can all agree that prices right now, grocery store, prices for rent and things are out of control. Can you tell me which party has any solution? Neither one of them. Neither one of them has anything that they're coming to you saying, we are going to make it less expensive for you to buy eggs by doing this. We are going to make it easier for you to buy a house, and we're going to bring down the price of rent by doing this. We're going to make sure that your kids don't have to live in your basement until they're 42 by doing this. Neither side has done that. So we, I think, because of how we behave as an electorate, have gotten, the contest that we deserve. Now, I think you've got a point about Kamala. I'm still working on that one, but I'm going to mess it up. And you know why it is? And shout out to Adam down the hall here who's doing our video because he and I are both professional wrestling fans, 80s, big guy, Kamala the Ugandan headhunter, the Giants. Yeah. So again, that's hard. And here's the weird part.
Look that up.
No. Here's the weird part. Guess what? Now, Kamala is his middle name. Guess what his last name is?
Trump.
His first name's Richard. His last name is Harris. He's Kamala Harris.
Is it actually Kamala?
Yes. It's
It's
Richard
Kamala.
Harris.
It's Kamala, as in like
Kama and La, like Pamela.
Yeah.
Like Pamela.
Kamala.
But my entire life, it's been Kamala, the Ugandan headhunter. So I got a real problem here, and it is going to trip me up at least for the election, and then we'll see what happens. Who's in charge now? I think you're right about just vote for the women doesn't work, but I do think that the minority identification politics can work. I think that she can stem the tide of the Democrats leaking both Black and Hispanic voters. I think that she can shore that up by, again, doing more of the idea of I understand you, I see you, I reflect your struggles.
Help me understand this.
Yeah.
We just recently, in the last few years, appointed the first Black woman to the U.S. Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yep.
And I understand the historical significance of it, right? And I understand the historical challenges that black women and black people faced in this country. I'm not ignoring Jim Crow. We went to war in this country to end slavery.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that help black women? Like actually help a black woman in her own personal life that Ketanji Brown Jackson is now a U.S. Supreme Court justice.
I will give you and it's not the best example, but I'll give you the Whoopi Goldberg example. And Whoopi tells the story when she was little that she's in her home and she's watching TV, and on TV comes this sci-fi show called Star Trek, and there's this woman sitting there with the same color of skin that she has, and she's the communications officer on the bridge on the ship. And Whoopi turns to her mom and says, Mom, there's a woman on TV that looks like us, and she's not the maid. She's not the cleaning lady. She's not the cook. Come see. Look what she's doing. That's the difference.
But doesn't that just further the fact that we feel like we can only achieve things if people that look like us can achieve those things?
Well, the issue is that if we don't see our own skin color, our own ethnicities at times reflected in the larger culture, you feel like you don't belong. By not seeing people of your same skin color running the Fortune 500 companies, without seeing people of your same skin color running for president, it is the implied assumption that you can't. Because nobody else can and nobody else has. Because we've had 200 years of history. We've had a lot of time.
I understand that, but it seems to continue to further that idea that your skin color matters, like ultimately,
but
almost to a point where, like with Ketanji Brown Jackson, we're not talking about her ability as a judge. We're not talking about her ability to analyze cases, to be intellectual. We're talking about her skin color.
But that's only based on the premise of this argument. It's not based on the judgment of her. Nobody sits there when Ketanji Brown Jackson comes out and does either agrees or disagrees with the ruling, goes, yes, the black Supreme Woman Justice says this. No one prefaces it that way.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. The issue is it matters not based on choosing someone because of their minority, but it does matter to the community to be able to see themselves reflected in that minority. The idea of, growing up and not seeing people represented of yourself in cartoons or in shows. You remember the show Will and Grace, right? The sitcom Will and Grace? Yeah. First openly gay character that was mainstream. That was huge. Murphy Brown, first single mom that was a career mom. First time that ever happened. And so no one had seen that reflected before. Was it important that Murphy Brown become the single mom? No. But did it mean a hell of a lot to the single moms who were career and saw their struggles reflected on TV? Yeah, that means a lot. It does.
Yeah, I guess I want to get to a place in our country where we're focusing in on the content of someone's character. And when you have this piece from Hillary Clinton that has multiple paragraphs about the idea of being the first woman, about facing unique challenges to the first Black and South Asian women. It just goes back to this idea that if we have to continue to keep doing this, we're going to always be talking about race, always be talking about sex, and never getting to what I'd like us to see with MLK is that we judge someone by the content of their character.
And I know that we have to step aside, and I'm burning time here, but it would be great if people also on the other end wouldn't make their decisions based on that. In the 2015-2016 cycle, there were people that voted for Trump specifically because they said a woman can't be president. I don't think the woman is ready. And it also would help. Again, I think Hillary's wrong focusing on all the challenges, but it also would help if we didn't have certain Republican lawmakers coming out and calling Kamala a DEI hire. They're doing the same thing. The same thing Hillary's doing, they're just doing it in a negative. Where Hillary's putting it as a positive, they're doing it as a negative. It's the exact same thing.
All right. Well, we've just got to get to you two. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. This is going to be interesting.
All right, Billy, let's do it. You choose the news.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where we take our careers in our own hands and do something very dangerous and also very stupid and silly. It is time for You Choose the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show that we play when the powers that be have no idea what's going on. They do not wake up until 7 a.m., so we got about 8 minutes here. Okay, gentlemen, you know the rules. I read the stories after you choose the headlines, and this is always proudly not sponsored by Rolling Out Shelves. They're a wonderful mother-son team that will come to your home and solve your clutter issues just like they did in Jeff's house and my mom's house. Find them at rollingoutShelves.com, free in-home estimate, but do not tell them about You Choose the News because they will charge you more. Alrighty, gentlemen, here are your headlines. Headline number 1, Smuggle Us, Interrupt Us. Headline number 2, Explains Some Behavior. Headline number 3, Flight of the Icarus. And headline number 4, Prejudicial Brainwashing. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Speaking of the last conversation we had, how about some prejudicial brainwashing?
Yes, prejudicial brainwashing. That is what Japan's trucking industry is claiming is going on in their manga comic books. They are saying, hey, how come every time somebody in Japanese animation dies in traffic, it's always a big truck running over them? You know, you're hurting us here. It's not good. And they're actually claiming that it is a well-known brainwashing technique to expose everybody to the fact that all of these trucks are running people over and killing them dead immediately. And so you can't do that because you are hurting our trucking industry, which obviously has such a fine, upstanding reputation.
Seems to me like it's just encouraging people not to walk in the road.
Exactly. How about we look both ways?
Right.
Yeah, it's like the time in which, you know, like the cop tickets the woman that he bumps into with his car because she's walking on the road. He's like, I had to ticket her. No, you hit her with the car.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's going to teach her something. At least I hope so. Okay, Blake Olson, the news department. Your choice, sir. Smuggle Us, Interrupt Us, Explain Some Behavior, or Flight of the Icarus?
Smuggle Us, Interrupt Us.
Yeah, Smuggle Us, Interrupt Us. We travel to El Paso, Texas for this one. A woman from Odessa and her boyfriend are now facing charges of human trafficking. But they say, no, officers. We were not human trafficking. We were just trying to get our freak on. Yes, they were trying to do the dirty inside the car. At least that is their alibi when they say a bunch of migrants that had illegally crossed the border jumped into the back of the car and said, drive, gringo, drive. Yeah. Now, the weird part is that when they're doing the investigation, they found some cell phone conversations between the boyfriend and maybe someone involved in Mexican human trafficking and smuggling to get illegals into the country. But their story is they just went down to watch the pretty sunset, decided to get a little bizarre, bump chicka burner, and then the illegals showed up and told them to drive. You know, what do you do? What do you possibly do? Yes, exactly. Alrighty, Mr.
Only
Hunt.
in Odessa.
I know, only in Odessa. And I love the idea that the alibi is, oh, we were just going to have sex, sir. Wait, hang on. Hold on here. Yes. The best part is, oh, this is even better. I forgot. They were allegedly outside the car. They were going to have sex in the hood of the car instead of actually inside. Because, you know, the gear shift and the parking brake get in the way. At least so I've been told. All righty. Jeff, your choice, sir. Explain Some Behavior or Flight of the Icarus?
Well, I think we need to explain some behavior.
That's mostly on my end. Yes, we need to explain some behavior. We're traveling to Phoenix, Arizona for this one. And new data from Circana, they're a study company, that has shown that now when you're wandering the toy aisles, you're going to have to elbow the adults out of the way. It's called kid-dulting. Currently, adults 18 and older are buying more toys than those under the age of 6, and parents are buying for them. So yes,
no way.
Yes, it's the adults buying most of the toys. Yes, and I am personally very, very childish.
We are in a decline in this country.
Yes, hey, that's it. That's the end of
That
You Choose the
is
News.
so
Back to you.
depressing. All right. Well,
You see those Lego sets?
Uplift your spirits. Kristi Burton Brown's joining us next year on the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you've tuned into a wild Jeff and Bill show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get another cup of coffee brew in Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Some good news coming out. Property tax cut measure one step closer to the ballot. The Citizens Tax Cut Campaign yesterday turned in nearly 200,000 signatures, roughly 76,000 more than required to make the ballot requirement to the Colorado Secretary of State's office, moving the property tax cut measure, currently known as Proposition 108, one step closer to the ballot. We're going to get details on this and more in just a second when Executive Vice President for Advanced Colorado, Kristi Burton Brown, joins us. I have to ask her a little bit about some Dave Williams issues as well. But let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 62 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 95 today as the smoke from Canada hopefully clears out. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Thornton police investigating a shooting that injured an officer and killed a suspect early this morning. It occurred west of I-25 near Thornton Parkway and Gale Boulevard near Federal Heights. Outside an apartment complex, Thornton Parkway was closed in both directions for a few hours, maybe a couple of hours ago. A lot of activity in the area. The officer is expected to be okay.
So I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala.
President Biden will address the nation tonight at 6 Denver time from the Oval Office. This will be the first on-camera appearance since he, air quotes, dropped out of the race Sunday. Biden told his campaign workers.
By the way, Blake, he dropped out as much as Caesar dropped out of his role as well.
I think I've seen that movie. We could do it the easy way or the hard way. Yeah.
Way to be such a patriot for your country as we.
Right. Absolutely.
Take him out back.
No, I agree with you. That's a movie that your wife does not watch. She wants to see more violence.
She likes The Rock saving the country.
Yes, the natural disasters. I love it. All right. So he's going to speak tonight at 6 o'clock.
You know, the name has changed the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell.
Karine Jean Propaganda Pierre on The View on, what was that, Tuesday? Listen to this garbage talking about all the great things that Biden did.
Wages are up. Jobs have been created. Millions of jobs created. Unemployment is low. We're trying to continue to lower costs, lowering prescription drugs. I mean, it goes on and on.
He even tried to fix the border. And then the Republicans rejected it for dear leader.
Yeah, well, yes, they did. There was a bipartisan
Let her say it.
legislation.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
How sweet to be an idiot.
Joy Behar made Karine Jean-Pierre look intelligent. Biden could shut the border down right now if he wanted to. They don't want to shut down the border. Oh, man, thank the Lord for The View and all the entertainment they bring us every day. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu delivers an address to Congress today, but Kamala Harris will not preside over the address to Congress, as vice presidents typically do. Instead, she'll travel to Indy for an event scheduled before launching her presidential campaign. She'll be with her sorority sisters, the AKAs, the Alpha Kappa Alphas Incorporated.
You wish you had an AKA to love you all the time.
However, Harris will hold a separate meeting with Netanyahu, but she will always put those Hamas supporters first. Some 200 people arrested Tuesday at a pro-Hamas rally in a congressional building on Capitol Hill Tuesday as they warm up to eat each other, to eat their own, that is, at the DNC in Chicago. Chuck Schumer is such a schmucker, slimy deep state tool, officially showed his support for the Democrats' newly installed candidate.
Vice President Harris will beat Donald Trump and become the next president of the United States of America. Applause.
That was the second one. I think he did that 3 times, asking for applause. Everyone just stood there. Harris speaking to supporters in Wisconsin last night.
The path to the White House goes through Wisconsin. Yes, it does. And to win in Wisconsin, we are counting on you right here in Milwaukee.
Well, I'm kind of like Billy. I'm trying to get a hold of that Kamala thing. I'm going comma. Okay, there we go. And it's not Kamala, even though I want to say Kamala.
Just think Culture Club.
Yeah, no doubt. That is,
yeah.
No, I actually have been doing that, as a matter of fact.
and just between you and me, Blake, there is a Boy George joke that neither one of us is going to make at this point because we both will get in trouble.
Following a recount, sorry, I was looking for it as you were talking. It's been announced that candidate Larry Sukla won the Republican primary for Colorado House District 58 by just 3 votes. Sukla will face Democratic candidate Kathleen Curry in November. Health officials are again urging everyone to avoid touching Colorado's wildlife this summer. 3 bats in Boulder County have tested positive for rabies. That makes 26 animals in the state who've come down with the deadly disease.
Somebody will put that in soup and we'll end up with a national pandemic.
Hey, you and your kids, you stay away from those animals, Jeff, okay? Red Sox shut out the Rockies 6-0 getaway day today at Coors. First pitch, 110. 57 in Boulder, 59 in Parker, 62 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue.
Some of these press conferences, it reminds me of a book they made me read in college called Ship of Food.
It's Hump Day. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 7-10 5-day forecast. A smoky haze and continued hot. Highs will be 90s today, 90s on Thursday, low 90s Friday. Today and Thursday will be smoky, hazy, and dry. Nights in the 60s. Not as hazy and smoky. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, Colorado is one step closer to maybe cutting some property taxes. Yesterday, there were 200,000 signatures turned in Proposition 108, currently known as Proposition 108, the measure which cuts assessment rates to 5.7% for residential property and 24% for commercial property, provides much-needed tax relief for Colorado homeowners and businesses. If passed, Proposition 108 will return property tax bills back to near 2022 level, eliminating most of this year's massive tax hike while allowing local districts to keep record-breaking revenue collections. The backfill requirement for local districts for any lost revenue will cost the state about $200 million, according to independent modeling commissioned by Colorado Concern. Advance Colorado has been one of the leading organizations in helping us in Colorado deal with these skyrocketing property taxes and getting these signatures in to get something on the ballot this year. And joining us from Advance Colorado's Executive Vice President, Kristi Burton Brown. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Of course. Good morning.
So you turned in a lot of signatures yesterday. Tell us a little bit more about what this will do for the common voter of Colorado.
Absolutely. This is a great day. Turning in signatures. We'll be certified for the ballot very soon. And why this is important for the common voter is because we're paying property taxes, and they skyrocketed on an average of 30% last year for every person paying 30% more property taxes. The legislature failed to actually solve this problem. They failed to put a cap in place so it actually reduced property taxes. They failed to cut this back down to levels that people can manage and deal with and have an affordable life in Colorado. So as a group of citizens, now we've taken this into our own hands and said, the citizens, the people can do what the legislature can't. Government's wages shouldn't grow faster than ours. Right now they are. It's unacceptable. People are demanding relief, and we can give it to them through this citizens tax cut.
And Coloradans love winners. Advance Colorado, you all are winners. And this is just part of the next step because you all were the lead organization in defeating Proposition HH. So help us kind of link this all together with Gallagher, Proposition HH, and now this ballot initiative.
Sure, Jeff, that's a great question. A lot of people are wondering, how in the world did we get here, and why has it not been fixed over this period of years? Way back several years ago, when the Gallagher Amendment was repealed, that's, of course, what kept property taxes at a manageable level. Well, a lot of people talked about Gallagher, said, oh, it's not workable anymore. The promise was, if you repeal Gallagher, we'll put a different cap in place. Well, that part never happened. The legislature, the state government had multiple years to put a better formula, a better cap in place. They never did it. They continued to pass occasionally temporary property tax relief, but never anything permanent that actually helps people. And so last year, it kind of all came to a head when we saw those skyrocketing property taxes, where we'd have senior citizens going into county commissioners' offices, literally crying and saying, I don't know how we're going to afford to stay in our homes because they're on fixed incomes. And the property tax hike was just astronomical and something they couldn't afford. And, that's just one group of people. So many groups of people deeply affected. Legislature last year tried to put Prop HH on the ballot. They got it on the ballot. They basically told people, oh, this will solve your problems. Well, what they were really doing is taking money out of one of our pockets and attempting to put it in the other, taking our Tabor refund, which people love in Colorado, and saying, oh, that's how we'll pay for your property tax cut. Well, if you're using my money to pay for something you're giving me, that's not actually giving me anything. Advance Colorado was able to really help people see this, along with a lot of great partner coalition groups across the state. Just a lot of voices said, this is a lie from the legislature. They're taking your Tabor refunds and telling you it's a tax cut. Voters rejected that by about 20% margin. And so it got back to another legislative session in which the legislators passed Senate Bill 233 at the very, very end. A number of groups, including Advance, were pushing them to do property tax relief. And that's the best they came up with Democrats in control. All it would do next year is decrease the increase of your property taxes, but you'd actually still pay more in property taxes next year under the bill passed by the legislature. So we have Initiative 50 and Proposition 108 that would cut and cap property taxes and create basically Tabor for property taxes, cut it back down to 2022 levels, and finally give people the relief they've been demanding.
And so what's the difference between those two ballot initiatives?
So Initiative 50 is a constitutional amendment, Jeff, that would cap property tax increases at 4% a year. That'd be the most they could increase per year. If government ever says, oh, wait, we need more of your money, then they have to do what they do with other taxes in Colorado that Tabor requires. They have to go to the people and ask. So it'd be a vote of the people would be the only way to increase that cap in the future. That's why we say it's Tabor for property taxes. Proposition 108 would be a statutory cut, and it would claw back taxes down to the 2022 levels, which were far more manageable and affordable for people. It would cut residential and commercial, and it would require the state government to backfill local governments, because we basically have three entities at issue here: people who need a tax cut, local governments that provide services people rely on, police, fire, schools, and then the state government that created this mess and has failed to solve it over numerous years. And so if someone has to pay for this property tax cut, it should be the state government. And that's why they'd be required under our initiative to backfill the local governments and make sure all your services are protected and you get the tax cuts that you need.
So Initiative 50, have you all gotten the signatures for that? Has that been approved for the ballot?
Yes, that was all fully certified for the ballot. We
Great.
actually turned that in last year, set a record with how fast signatures were collected.
Fantastic. And have you found that the Democrats really don't want to address this because they like taxes?
I mean, that is a constant problem, Jeff, I'd say. And the reason they're giving is they're saying, well, we just can't provide you the services you want without more of your money. And that argument never ends, as we always see. They're always saying, oh, more money is the solution for everything. And this is a year when I just don't think voters are ready to accept an argument like that. Government demanding more than our wages increase. We have to balance our budget. Why aren't they required to cut and curb theirs? I mean, state government has grown $18 billion in the last 9 years, and cutting $3 billion, which is what Proposition 108 would require, just takes them back to one previous year. It's not as big of a cut as they're acting like.
Now, Kristi Burton Brown, I appreciate your time this morning. You've heard Kristi on KNUS before. She is the Executive Vice President of Advanced Colorado. And I want to talk about that attack from the Democrats when they're talking about, hey, these are services that we can't afford. Things are going to be cut back. Just a bit of advice. If they get into that kind of a debate, maybe we ask the Democrats how the average Colorado family is doing and how their budget is doing. Because based on the property tax increase, there is an enormous shortfall that the average Colorado homeowner is facing. Why is the government shortfall more of a big deal than the average person's budgetary shortfall? Because last time I checked, the government has many more avenues to deal with a budget shortfall than you, Jeff, or myself do. Personally, I find it offensive when they come in and say, but the government needs all this money. You're like, but I can't afford to not have this money. Do you understand that some people can't feed themselves or continue to live in the same home they're in right now based on the tax increase? This is about the struggle of the average Colorado homeowner, and it says a hell of a lot when the Democrat response is, but what about the government? Aren't we? I mean, hang on, just for a second here, Kristi. Kristi Burton Brown, Jeff Hunt, Bill Thorpe. Today, right here on the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS, we are going to have a moment of silence for all the struggles that our Colorado government is going through. Okay, that's enough. All right, that's it. That's all it deserves. That's it. It's ridiculous. It's just, what about the government? Shut up. You're taking enough of my money. Really? The idea, and they just want more of Tabor, and they're just trying to fill the coffers. The other question would be, just like Kristi, Jeff, myself, and our listeners go through every single month. The budget is tight. Where do we cut? It's interesting that the Democrat solution isn't, how do we make this more efficient? How do we get our budget balanced? Their solution is, gimme. Just ridiculous.
Oh,
yeah.
It is ridiculous. And I think you've hit it right on the head, Billy. That is what the pain that people are feeling across the state. And they are starting to question, why can't you cut government? Why is your answer always, when we want to pay less taxes so we can afford our lives and feed our families and go to work, why is your solution always, nope, you've got to give us more money and pay for a comfortable life? And I mean, they're even going so far as to saying the sewer system isn't going to work if this passes. They're making just laughable arguments. And especially they're failing to acknowledge that we actually are requiring them, the state government, to backfill the local services people actually count on, like police and fire and schools. So they're just blowing this way out of proportion and not acknowledging that sometimes it is actually time for them to find where to be efficient and to cut, instead of, to your point, Billy, always making the people do it.
And I wouldn't suggest this necessarily openly, and I will deny it if anybody does. But if they do shut down the sewer system, there's an option for you to, say, collect your own home sewage and then return it to the lawmakers' houses or lawns on your own time. I'm not advocating for that.
Didn't he?
Yes, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying it's an option. You can explore it.
Kristi, look, they're going to go after y'all hard in November in the run up to this because they genuinely believe, Democrats genuinely believe that they are solving our problems through taxpayer dollars. And you are now, reallocating that either to local, at least at the state level, or reducing their ability to get it all together. So what is your plan for November? I remember talking to John Caldera one time, and John's like, well, we just put the reduction in property tax or the reduction in sales tax on the ballot. We never even had to run anything because people could read it and go, well, I don't want to pay as much taxes. So with you all, what's the plan to win in November?
Sure. And Jeff, of course, winning is absolutely the goal here. You can propose tax cuts, but you actually have to pass them. And so part of the issue that we have is you no longer get to have basic, honest language on the ballot in Colorado. The legislature, and they've actually openly acknowledged this, several of their members have acknowledged that they passed a bill a couple years back to require language on ballot measures because conservative groups were putting too many ballot measures and passing them and taking money from the government. And so now they require certain language on the ballot that confuses voters, that says it takes money from certain government agencies that it actually doesn't even take money from. And so basically when you poll it, you see that people are more confused by the ballot language on any sort of tax cut than they are by the idea of what the tax cut does. And so the plain language of cutting and capping property taxes is 70% of voters want this to happen. It's a very popular idea. So what we have to do is run a campaign showing people this is exactly what these measures do. Thankfully, people will get to read the Blue Book because that also shows them this is a cut and a cap on property taxes. So the more we can get that plain language across to people, this is the citizens tax cut. It's people doing what the legislature fails to do. Government's wages shouldn't rise more than our wages. If we have to cut, they have to cut. Those plain, simple arguments, and we have a great coalition out there ready to go make these arguments to voters. So that's how we win.
So how can people be involved in supporting you all in the work of Advance Colorado? Because you guys are winning, and I think conservatives are like desperate for anybody that's winning. And I've always said, you and Michael Fields are just some of the smartest we have here on our side. So I'd love for people to get more involved with what you're doing.
Well, you're so kind. We love what we're doing, super passionate about it. And voices like yours are so important to calling people to action. So thank you. I think we're running 5 ballot measures, and we run things that poll well. We run things that can win. So go to advancecolorado.org. Tons of information for you. You can email us. You can sign up. You can get involved. We would love to have anyone's help on this.
Advancecolorado.org. All right, Kristi, I'm going to pivot now.
Okay. Oh, wait, one more thing. And I think I've got a tagline for you, Kristi. When we're talking about the Democrats pushing back on this initiative, all you have to do is point out, wait, the Democrats are more concerned about the state budget than about yours. That's it.
Ooh,
yes, love it.
That's a good one. Trademark Billy Thorpe.
T-shirts.
All
T-shirts,
royalties.
Signs, that's what
Credit
we
to
need.
you, Billy.
All
I like
royalties.
that one.
All right, Kristi, you at one point in your life were the chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party.
True. This is true.
Is it time for Dave Williams to step down?
Yes. And I don't say that lightly, but I think that would be the best solution out of everything that's going on right now, is for Dave to recognize that really the honorable move to make at this point is to realize that he has lost the confidence of the Central Committee, of the congressional delegation, and to resign. That would be, I think, the honorable thing.
So there's a lot wrapped up in there. If he doesn't get the votes, or if the votes to oust him are not enough there, do you think he's lost the Central Committee, the support of the Central Committee?
I do. I think there's a threshold, of course, to actually remove a chairman. It's a high threshold, as I think it should be. 60% of the vote of the entire membership, as I understand it. Some people believe it's 60% of those present at a meeting to remove the chairman. Certainly, if that's the measure, I believe they'll absolutely reach it on Saturday. If it is 60% of the entire membership, I actually think they can reach that too. I don't think I'd predict one way or the other how it will go, because I've not personally, talked to that many members of the Central Committee. But I think if it doesn't pass, I think it's going to be very close to the level that they need, and that's very problematic for a chairman. as you guys probably remember, there's always people who pop up with any chairman and say, oh, they should be removed. Oh, they should resign. That literally happens to every single chairman.
Yeah.
But I do not know of a time in Colorado history where enough signatures have been collected to actually call a meeting to remove a chairman, and where it's been this big of an issue. So that is a problem for a chairman.
Kristi, I appreciate that perspective because I've mentioned multiple times I worked for the state party at one point, and that's been kind of my perspective. Is it feels like this happens all the time. Can't we just let the guy finish the term and see how he does in November? What would your response be to the idea that we can't be doing this infighting? There's a time to remove him. That would be after the election. Let's see how he plays out between now and November. What's wrong with, what's wrong with allowing that to happen instead of changing and swapping out the coach right before we go into the playoffs?
Sure, valid questions, Jeff. And I think the issue is that we have a real problem for our candidates with the current chairman. CD8, I think, is the best example of this. CD8 with Gabe Evans as our nominee. It's one of the key, most high-profile races in the entire nation to take back or to keep Congress for the Republicans right now. And the state party spent roughly $20,000 attacking Gabe Evans in the primary. He went on to win by 55% of the vote. He still to this day has not received a single call from the state chairman, no apology from the state party. That's $20,000 that now cannot be spent against the Democrat, Derek Carabeo, in that seat. And not only did it attempt to prop up his primary opponent, it directly lied about Gabe Evans' record, his own party attacking their general election nominee in one of the most high-profile races in the nation. That's a huge, huge problem. And that has to be the number one race for the state party this year when you look at all the numbers. How can you repair something like that as the state chairman? He hasn't even attempted to repair it. I really think that's an impossible thing to repair. NRCC, as far as I've heard, is planning to not even go through the state party to support that race. Another huge problem, all things that can change with a different chairman at the helm. And that's just one race. It's the most obvious example, but absolutely not the only one. We see candidate after candidate who's been attacked by the state party and yet is now our general election nominee. That's pretty much an unworkable situation, particularly when the chairman refuses to address it.
Kristi Burton Brown, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado and a former chairperson of the Colorado Republican Party. Now I want to play NFL Game Day with yourself, Jeff, and me here on the Jeff and Bill Show. You are a former head coach. So it's just like NFL Game Day. We are on the curved little weird desk that they have, all the fancy stuff behind us, people waving and holding signs. You're the former coach. Let's just pretend that the Colorado Republican Party is going to make a change in leadership. I want you to crack open your state party chair playbook and tell us what are the strategic disadvantages and advantages of making a change now.
Sure. Great question. I think the strategic advantages are that right now the state party should be 100% centered on supporting candidates. So the advantage to switching is the current leadership has not supported candidates, have attacked candidates, has spent money against candidates. You switch leadership, you're going to have someone who's actually going to support candidates and get in there and do the job. I think that is the number one strategic advantage to switching. Number two, I think we have, if Dave happens to get removed and replaced, then I don't have a vote. But if that's what happens, I believe we have to pick someone who's not going to constantly be in the news about themselves. If there's a chairman who's constantly in the news because of their statements, and I guess I'm saying negative news. If you were in for positive news and you're helping the brand and helping the party, by all means, go for it. But when you're in the news constantly for spending money against Republicans, for lying about what's happening to money, for attacking other people in the party, for suing fellow Republicans, that's a problem, because then that's what people read about Republicans. We need a chairman who puts their head down, who focuses on candidates and gets our candidates and our good messages in the news. So that's the second strategic advantage. And next to candidates, the next job is messaging and it's fundraising. There has been a number of problems with the current state party with fundraising that I think are going to continue through this year because they're not working with the candidates. I honestly don't see any disadvantages right now to removing the chairman. other than the fact that it, is going to take people from all across the state hours and hours to drive and get there on Saturday to come to the meeting. Certainly, it's too bad people have to take their time to do that when they should be door knocking. But that's the only disadvantage I see.
Kristi Burton Brown, when I've responded to and interviewed Nancy Pelosi on this show and Steve Pack and others, I've just asked them one question, and it's a simple question. Who should lead the Colorado Republican Party? Because I think if the only argument is Dave Williams needs to go, but you don't have the person that other people can go, well, that is somebody that could lead. I get excited about that. My concern is that we just open this up into continued infighting and continued division. Who is the person that should lead the Colorado Republican Party?
Sure. I think there's a lot of people who are thinking about it who have not necessarily announced that they're running at this point. Maybe they'll decide they're going to run. Maybe they're not going to decide. So I think it would be important to see who's actually willing to run. But I do know a lot of good people are talking about it. I know I actually heard Steve Peck on your show the other day. I think he said he's been considering running. I actually think he's the chairman of my county. Actually, I live here in Dougco as well. I think he would be a good alternative because I do believe he would put his head down. He'd focus on the candidates. He has a strategy to actually help candidates win. He's a good fundraiser. And his messaging, I think, would align with our candidates and really center on them. So I absolutely think, I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but someone like him would be a great alternative to pull us through November and get our candidates where they need to be.
Kristi Burton Brown, former chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party and current executive vice president of Advance Colorado, just yesterday turning in 200,000 signatures in an effort to cut assessment rates to 5.7% for residential property and 24% for commercial property, saving you money. So yes. Advance Colorado doing incredible work. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show, Kristi.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both so much. So
you can find out more about Advance Colorado by going to advancecolorado.org and join the work that they're doing there. Want to talk to you all about my friends at Roll 'Em Out Shelves. I've gotten to know Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leading satisfied customers wherever they go. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With Roll 'Em Out Shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating the chaos, increasing speed and functionality in your home. We got those installed at our house, and every single day, I'm not kidding you guys, every single day they make our lives better when we're able to access the full depth of our cabinets and shelves. It makes my life so much easier. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'Em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. That's 303-475-9601. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Los Angeles has experienced a hefty decline in reality TV production as Hollywood works to recover from dual labor strikes which took place last year. Hallie Bianco has more.
Actors, writers, and crew members have been hoping for a rebound in filming across all genres after last year's strikes halted most productions starting in July. But from April through June this year, the number of on-location filming days in the Los Angeles area fell 12.4% below already low levels a year earlier. According to the nonprofit Film LA, this year's decline was driven by a 56.9% drop in reality TV production. The main reason was likely due to the widespread impact of the media industry's switch to streaming.
A Russian man in France has been arrested, with prosecutors alleging he was planning acts of destabilization against the Olympic Games. With just 2 days to go until Paris's opening ceremony, authorities say they believe the man was linked to Russia's foreign spy agency. More than 75,000 French troops will patrol Paris over the course of the Games amid concerns over the threat of terrorism. It's the largest peacetime deployment of the French army in the country's history. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great conversation with Kristi Burton Brown. We talked about the new effort by Advance Colorado to stave on your property taxes. They're turning in 200,000 signatures gathered yesterday, and that'll likely head to the ballot. It's part of a 1-2 punch. Looking and pulling back.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Democrats.
Yeah, and
all
I
their
hope
tax dollars.
And I hope that Kristi uses the line and talks
Yeah,
about
that's
why
great.
the Democrats are more concerned about the state budget than your budget. Why? Why is that? Yeah, because that's a really difficult question for them to answer. I would love to hear them answer that question. Why does your budget matter more than mine?
You know, I was thinking of going this route, and then we ended up with so many guests today. But I went and clipped Mikey Johnston's State of the City address,
geez.
and they take a lot of pride. Democrats take a ton of pride in providing solutions to problems they create.
Yeah. The filter's a little bit different from Republicans to Democrats based on what they think the role of government is in your life. Yeah.
Yep.
And the level of involvement.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
So he was there championing all the great services they're providing to quote unquote newcomers.
Yeah.
Legal immigrants, right? And personal stories. I mean, heart-wrenching.
Oh, yeah.
Personal stories. And they are so proud of what they have built to serve people. All right. And then you have a few questions like one, well, how much does this cost? Because the services you provide don't just pop up out of nowhere. You're taking money from Denver residents to do this. And maybe they like it, right? They elected him. So maybe they like their dollars being spent to do that. But then two, they didn't just show up because they showed up. We put a big banner outside.
Well, the other part for me,
we love you, welcome. And so they're out there going, we're taking care of all these great people. And you're spending tax dollars to do it, and you welcome them here to do it.
Yeah. Now, you've been involved in this political strategy thing a lot more than I have, because I've been almost non-existent in that side of it. But one of the things that I believe both the Democrats and the Republicans miss on their core messaging is the message of you. And what I mean by that is the message of, how did this administration, this policy, this change in the law, this change in the rule, this more regulation, less regulation, whatever it is, how did it make your life better?
Amen.
And if we go back in and look at Mike Johnston's speech, my guess is there isn't a lot of focus on your life is better because. Now, could I, if I'm doing the speech writing, again, as speechwriters, you got to spend anything possible. If I'm the speechwriter for Mike Johnston and we're talking about all these services that we've done for illegal immigrants, the way I sell it to how I make your life better is these people are now integrated into our community. They are people that are working by your side. They're people that are providing taxes. There are people that are going to be able to do this for you.
They're working for you. They're chefs in your kitchen.
They're going to be part of our community, and it's great that we are welcoming them. And because again, the Democrats want to welcome them, but you have to show it. Your community is going to be stronger because of it. However, what I'm hearing from Johnston is we're working with this community that doesn't necessarily benefit you, or at least he's not drawing these solutions. But what he is doing is he's certain he needs to take more of your money in order to give it to them. And that's a problem.
And going back to Kristi Burton Brown. So one of the things we also asked her was whether or not Dave Williams should resign in light of the ongoing civil war that exists within the Colorado Republican Party. She said yes. So I want to get to the callers here and your sense on her response to what Dave Williams is doing. She made a compelling case with regards to Gabe Evans. Holy cow. The state party spent $20,000 against him, and she is making the claim that it is currently not working to support him. And he is a pickup for the House here in Colorado. I mean, that's a big, big, big deal.
Huge.
It's a national deal. So that was very compelling. All right, let's go to the phone line. Spencer, Castle Rock, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Long time no talk.
I'm glad to have you back.
I value your opinion, so I just want to preface that before my question. When I moved away from Colorado a couple decades ago, it was considerably more conservative than it is now. There definitely wasn't a super majority in the state legislature. When I moved back in 2022, all I've heard since then was issues with the Colorado GOP. And accusations of misappropriation of funds, ineptitude, incompetence, which leads me to believe Colorado is in the state it's in politically for conservatives because of the Colorado GOP.
It's part of the equation.
And this is just my opinion, based on the information that I've read and heard on this station. My question is, all I've heard is negative reports about Dave Williams, a memo he sent that was offensive. And my question is why should we give any weight to the comments of your last interview, former chairwoman, when I believe that she clearly contributed to the political issues we have for conservatives in Colorado?
It's a fair question, and I will say this: that she is a winner with Advance Colorado, and she has a track record with Advance of actually advancing conservative policies in the state. But she resigned after, I believe, one term as chairwoman because it didn't go well for Republicans. And look, we've said this multiple times, Spencer, that the Republican Party chair is kind of like a head coach. You judge them almost exclusively on wins and losses, and that's it. Yeah. And under her term, they did not have wins, and so she walked away. So it's a fair critique of her leadership of the state party. But going to your point on the larger issue about the drift of Colorado, there's a few things that happen because it's a complicated formula. If there's one thing, we could just solve one thing, and all of a sudden we're a Republican state. We'd solve that one thing. So part of it is Colorado is historically a socially libertarian state. It is a Western state, and Democrats tapped into that better than Republicans did. And that's why, if you just look at issues, right, we have doctor-assisted suicide, we have abortion on demand, we've basically decriminalized most drugs in this state. So people like the idea of the government staying out of their personal lives and all that stuff. And Democrats, I think, more or less kind of tapped into that better. But what they've done, the voters have had to deal with that deal with the devil on the social libertarian side of things, is they've had to deal with this constant attempts to go after Tabor, constant attempts to raise your taxes, now all the property taxes. And that's where you find the disjointed parties taking place in this state, because Democrats are out of touch on the fiscal things with the voters, and Republicans seem to be a little bit out of touch on the social issues with the voters. And that's kind of why Colorado finds itself in the place it is, where the voters will vote for continued tax reductions and still hand the Democrats the control of the state.
Well, it sounds like Colorado is right in lockstep with the rest of the nation when it comes to issues for conservatives and liberals and where we stand against the other parties. Social issues have never been great for conservatives, and fiscal issues have never been great for Democrats. But I guess my question is why aren't we cleaning house and telling the old guard, you're out of touch, it's not working, it didn't work in the past. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We need people in these leadership positions who can come up with new ideas that bring everybody back to the table to compromise. And I just don't see it happening since I've moved back. I just see pandemonium and confusion.
They haven't focused, from my perspective, my critique of Republican leadership is they haven't focused in on what would draw people to them, which is winning. Bottom line, winning. We have a failure culture that has been perpetuated within the Republican Party. And like you have with the Broncos, when you start failing, you start blaming everybody. It's the water boy's fault. He's not getting the water out fast enough. So
let's fire the coach before the big game, because that works out never.
Right. Well, and that's a fair point, Spencer. And we've brought that up time and time again. When people are calling for Dave Williams to go, we're going, well, there is a time. If you want to judge him by wins and losses in November and then get him out. And they're saying, no. For us to win in November, we got to get him out now. But look, the one thing that the Republican Party can actually do to start winning is to focus at the hyper local level. They keep jumping to this big level. Look what Republicans have done to Aurora. You have you have a Republican mayor, you have Republican control of the city council, and things are actually going really well in Aurora. And I think if the Republican Party got out of the infighting, out of even the big races, and just said, we're going to go city council by city council, mayor by mayor, school board by school board, and we will focus on these hyper-local races, we'll start to build a culture of winning, and we'll work our way up. Then I think you start to get stuff. But Spencer, we're just out of time. I really appreciate the call, Spencer from Castle Rock. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. I think this weekend or next week. And I only say that because I know someone that's traveling to Paris next week.
Champion Megan Kaltenbach Burke is with Independent Women's Forum, Independent Women's Network, Denver chapter, and they're going after trying to protect women in their sports from dudes trying to participate in the state of Colorado. So we'll get into all that and more on the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mountain City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You can into the Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. Most of the time, pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, a 15-time 5A track and field champion here in Colorado, and also an NCAA champion, Megan Kaltenbach Burke. She's the Denver chapter leader for the Independent Women's Network, and they're working on a ballot initiative to make sure women's sports stays with the ladies. Sorry, dudes. Can't go out there and win a bunch of records by bullying the ladies. So we'll be talking to her about this effort.
Another world record. That sucks. Man. Oh, damn it.
and Billy, you and I have talked a lot about. I had a buddy who just decided one day to see if he could become the women's champion weightlifter in England.
Yeah.
And he just said, I'm a girl. I'm going to lift more weights than most girls and then claim the championship.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
So it is lunacy, but we'll get into this with Megan Burke because she's part of an effort to get this on the ballot this November, but they're still collecting signatures and they need help. So this is going to be a very important conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. But let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Oh, good morning. Wait a minute. When did he do this? It
was Zuby.
Zuby.
Yeah. On X.
That?
Yeah. Zuby just decided one day he's going to.
That's awesome.
I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym and just claim the women's weightlifting.
So recently, huh?
Yeah, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
No kidding.
Just how crazy it is. If I can't wait to talk to Megan about this because I was a runner in high school too, and I want to know where she went because I went to Creek and ran cross country there and competed in the state championships and all that stuff. Right. If I had just decided to run a different race, I'd be the state champion.
Absolutely.
And it's just not fair.
No, I went to a lot of track meets this spring, and I saw 2 or 3 occasions where that garbage was happening.
It is garbage. Our society should shame them. Sorry.
Man. No doubt.
You're
no
a
doubt.
bully.
Boo.
You're a bully.
Yeah,
if you're walking into women's sports as a dude and just claiming a spot, a title, a record that belongs to the girds. Give me a break.
You've got a mental problem. I mean,
I agree with that.
Let's fix your mind. That's what's wrong with you. All right, 69 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 95 today as the smoke from Canada hopefully clears. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, one person dead after a Thornton police officer shot and killed a suspect early this morning. It occurred west of I-25 near Thornton Parkway and Gale Boulevard near Federal Heights outside an apartment complex. Thornton Parkway was closed in both directions this morning. The officer was shot by the suspect and is expected to be okay. Kristi Burton Brown from Advanced Colorado on with Jeff and Bill last hour, fighting for Coloradans affected by the property tax hike. That's what they did. One of the great things that they have done. One group tried to take Tabor refunds to pay for it.
Well, if you're using my money to pay for something you're giving me, that's not actually giving me anything. Advanced Colorado was able to really help people see this, along with a lot of great partner coalition groups across the state. Just a lot of voices said this is a lie from the legislature. They're taking your Tabor refunds and telling you it's a tax cut. Voters rejected that by about 20% margin.
And eventually, after all the work and government gobbledygook, Coloradans receiving the relief that they wanted.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
Expect some big tales tonight as President Biden will address the nation tonight at 6 Denver time from the Oval Office. This will be his first on-camera appearance since he air quotes, dropped out of the race Sunday. Biden told his campaign workers, of course, over the phone that dropping out was the right thing to do.
So I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala.
I do give him credit, though. He always gets the Kamala correct. I mean, I mess it up all the
Me
time.
too.
Thankfully, Billy got me onto that one. Chameleon thing.
Yeah, thing is,
So,
the problem is
chameleon.
you're going to be singing in your head every time, like I have to.
No doubt.
Every
But
time I'm
that
talking about
song is Karma, isn't it? Karma
yeah, it's
Chameleon?
Karma Chameleon. Yeah,
Okay,
but that's
but
close
it works.
enough.
Comma. I just
Yeah.
think I'm saying comma.
Yeah.
Like, I think a comma like in the sentence,
there's
not a period.
I don't know if you heard in the first hour. My problem is there's an old 1980s professional wrestler that is Kamala. The Uganda
Yes, I
headhunter.
heard it. And
Yes.
his last name is Harris.
Harris, yes. So that's my problem. Is
Well,
little Billy is like,
never
it's
get
the
over that.
giant. I know.
Right.
Never.
You'll never correct that.
Yes, I'm going to
It's
mess
not
this up
fair.
the entire rest of the year. I'm going to mess this up.
Totally not
Yeah,
fair.
not fair.
Corinne Jean Propaganda Pierre on The View. And you know what? I almost shed a tear as she talked about one of the most incredible presidents in our history.
And what we saw from this president the last couple of days was a human decency, a good man, someone who decided not to put himself first, like we've seen before, but to put the American people first and this country first.
Oh, I tell you, I can't take it no more.
Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu delivers an address to Congress today, but Harris will not preside over the address to Congress, as vice presidents typically do. Instead, she'll travel to Indy for an event scheduled earlier. She'll be with her sorority sisters, Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated, aka. However, Harris will hold a separate meeting with Netanyahu later so Hamas supporters don't see her. Don't ever forget, she was the border czar and is the border czar, and 10 to 20 million, who knows how many million illegal immigrants have just walked into our country under her watch.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
What would you say you do here?
God, we really need to play that every day. I'm not saying what would you say that you do here, but
just Office Space, any Office Space quote.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, let's get that TPFCT reports right. Chuck Schumer is a schmuck, slimy, deep state tool.
So now that the process is played out from the grassroots.
Wait a minute. What process and the grassroots? Are you kidding me?
Bottom up. We are
bottom up. This dude, man.
Here today to
they selected her.
Throw our support.
3 or 4 people or 5
behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have
to. I can't believe this stuff is real. I can't. All right.
I can't believe there's like 40% of Americans are like, that sounds great.
Oh, yeah. I like that Chuck guy.
Put them in power.
God. And that's all they talk about is democracy, democracy, democracy. And they have none. They're ripping off like 14 million Democrats of their choice and their opportunity to select who they want. What a joke. All right, following a recount, it's been announced that candidate Larry Sukla won the Republican primary for Colorado House District 58 by just 3 votes. Sukla will face Democratic candidate Kathleen Curry in November. Red Sox shut out the Rockies 6-0 getaway day today at Coors. First pitch, 1:10. The opening ceremony isn't until Friday, but the Paris Olympics are getting underway today. The first soccer and rugby matches are being played, and I'm sure Billy will be watching those. So you can go over to his house and watch those. 67 in Lakewood, 66 in Littleton, 69 in Denver.
Hold
No?
on. We
Yeah.
we play soccer and not football in the Olympics?
Yes, absolutely.
How do we
man,
not
yeah.
play football in the Olympics?
Because nobody else cares about American football.
They
We're the
should.
only- No, they
It's
shouldn't.
called,
No,
it's
It is.
called
We are the-
American exceptional.
No, we are-
That's exactly right, and
No.
we should impose our will upon the
No.
Olympics.
because
Nobody
the
else
rest
cares.
of the world doesn't use their hands for
No.
in athletics.
No, the issue is-
Everything's done with their feet.
nobody else cares about NFL football around the world
Yeah,
because
thank God,
it's
because I
a-
don't care about them.
thing is, it's a ponderously slow game when analyzed. Again, I'm a
Yes,
huge
it is.
NFL fan, but if you look at the broadcast length of a game,
I'm sorry. What did
they
I
spend
unleash? I
almost
apologize to all of our listeners
They spend
out
almost
there.
no time playing the game.
So repeat that, Billy. I want to hear that one more time.
The issue is, if you look at the broadcast length of a game, they spend almost no time actually playing the game. They spend
True.
3/4 of their time standing around or in some sort of TV timeout or in halftime. The actual movement inside of the game is a fraction of the time that you are supposed to sit there on the couch. That's why NFL football does not find a larger audience outside of the world. Basically, it's for short attention spans. If the NFL tells you, everybody's lining up, pay attention now for 8 seconds. Okay, back to your beer. That's basically
Yeah, it's great on TV.
Yeah,
There's
it
no
is.
doubt.
And again,
No, it's a great
I'm
TV sport.
huge
no
fan,
doubt.
and I am there every Sunday, and I
Yeah.
understand it, and I'm
Yep.
still there watching.
Right,
but I know what I'm doing.
Because in soccer, you watch the whole thing, and then you go to the bathroom, and you miss the goal.
I know.
You miss 20
Yes.
seconds of it.
Yes, you have no idea how many times during the end of the game I'm doing the potty dance. It is not cool. It's not cool.
sorry.
I'm all of a sudden
I'm
5
sorry if
years
you-
old again. It's awful.
I'm sorry, Billy. Though, if you don't use your hands, it's not a sport. Sorry.
All right, we're going to get to the real athlete here,
Yeah.
Megan
Yeah.
Burke.
All right, Jeff and Bill continue, aka J and B.
You wish you had an AKA to love you all the time.
Wednesday, Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 7-10 5-day forecast. A smoky haze and continued hot. Highs will be 90s today, 90s on Thursday, low 90s Friday. Today and Thursday will be smoky, hazy, and dry. Nights in the 60s. Not as hazy and smoky. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Todd Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Joining the Jeff and Bill show is Megan Kaltenbach Burke. She is a 15-time 5A track and field champion in Colorado, also an NCAA champion. She's a chapter leader for the Independent Women's Network of Denver, and she's working along with many other great organizations to try to protect the sanctity of women's high school sports here in Colorado. Megan, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Good morning.
Jeff and Bill, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is such an important topic. And yes, women's sports and girls sports. We are looking to protect girls sports kindergarten through 12th grade where, have to be a female to actually play in female sports. So we can make sure we don't exclude girls from their own category.
How big of a problem is this in the state of Colorado that dudes are coming over to participate in girls sports?
You know, Jeff, in Colorado, it's happening throughout the state, but we can see the writing on the wall throughout the country. We had 3 boys win state titles in track and field in Oregon, Washington, and Maryland. And it's happening in every sport at every level. My first grade daughter is playing against boys because when you go to the club sports and you read how to sign up, it is all gender identity. It is not based on sex. It says you can play on whatever team you identify, which is a huge problem for girls because not only is it unfair, it is unsafe. And we are excluding girls from their own category in the name of inclusion.
Let's talk about the ballot initiative. What will it do? What's the exact language affiliated with the ballot initiative?
So the ballot initiative, first, right now, we are having to get 200,000 signatures on our petition in order to get it on the ballot in November. And the bill is pretty simple. It protects girls' sports, like I said, kindergarten through 12th grade. In order to play on a girls' sports team in Colorado, you will have to be born female. We also have a male league and a co-ed league, so we aren't excluding anyone. But in order to play female sports, girls' sports, kindergarten through 12th grade, you have to be born a female. So you have to be a girl.
How are you all doing on the signature gathering?
We're doing great. We have people all over the state, but we have a deadline of August 5th at 8 a.m. Everything has to be in the court so they can be counting it. So we only have a few more days. So we're making a huge push. So if you haven't signed it, make sure to go to protectkidscolorado.org. And on there, there's lists of where people will have them. You can contact them. We're sending a group to the Kenny Chesney concert, and we'll be at the tailgates getting signatures. And we're going to make a huge push. So if you haven't signed it, we really need your signature. Every signature counts, and we really need to step up and protect the girls here in the state, because even if at the national level, Title IX changes are reversed, which they need to be, but the Biden administration went ahead and just ruined Title IX. So even if that is reversed, in the state of Colorado, we have very liberal leadership throughout the government, the mayor, the governor. So they will continue to push gender identity. So we need to take this into our own hands, get this on the ballot, and vote to protect girls' sports. Otherwise, we won't have girls' sports. We won't have a girls' category.
Well, and I think it's just so wildly unfair because, and maybe we can pivot a little bit here to your career, Megan. When you put in the amount of work necessary to compete at those high levels in high school sports, right? You want to become a state champion. You've put in 4 years of day after day grinding it out work, and then some guy with a biological advantage comes into the race and takes your spot either in a state championship competition or a regional championship competition. And that spot, that record is now gone forever. That is tantamount to cheating, in my opinion. And these guys are getting away with it. And these poor girls are missing out on opportunities. That is incredibly frustrating to me. Talk a little bit about your career. A 15-time 5A track and field champion in Colorado. Who'd you run for?
I ran for Smoky Hill High School.
Ah, you're one of them. So I ran for Creek.
I'm one of them.
And we had
gosh. So we're like,
we're
our two schools. No, we're competitors.
Yeah. When did you race? What were the years you were at Smoky Hill?
So I graduated 2003.
Okay. I graduated from Creek in 2000. So we would have had a little bit of overlap there.
Definitely know the same. I also played soccer with a bunch of Creek athletes.
Oh boy. Now, Billy.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. I'm a former soccer player. Yeah. I played high school, played college, played a little bit afterwards as well. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we probably know the same people.
What did you run in track and field?
So I ran everything from the 800 all the way up to the 2 miles. So my junior year at 5A track, state track, I won the 4x8, the 800, the 2 mile, and the mile.
What was your mile time?
4:43 at nationals.
No way. In women's track, you got a 4:48?
Wow.
43.
4:40. Well, and every second counts at that point. Holy cow. You're fast.
Well, thank you. I think that's the point, right? Every millisecond counts. And then we're having to compete against boys and males who have anywhere from a 10 to 30% advantage. I mean, hey, Allison Felix, she's the most decorated track athlete we've ever had. And I think her best time, 400 high school boys would beat. So it's not even a comparison. And that's what you're saying. Like we're working so hard to win by 0.2 seconds. And then we are putting boys in the field with such an advantage and beating girls by like 50 yards. And the really sad thing is I am a very competitive person, But when you look at this, there's only 8 laps on the track. You're also leaving a girl out of the race. Like, she doesn't even get a shot. And that's what makes me really upset as a mom of 2 girls, is that we're pushing girls out of the race, off the field for a man or for a boy in our own category.
That's the part that hurts me. Megan Kaltenbach Burke joining Jeff and Bill live. Now, Megan is an independent women's network Denver chapter leader and former high school champion, NCAA champion, joining us live. That's the conversation I've had with younger demographics, because I'm finding people, I'm the oldest one in this conversation. Okay. Younger than y'all that are in this conversation. They see it as a rights issue, almost a civil rights issue for a trans athlete, that in order to view them as equal, that they need to have access to be able to play in those sports. And the conversation that I've had that has resonated well with that demographic is explaining, when I was a kid, there were no female sports. It didn't exist. And that the women in my life had to fight and scratch and grab everything they could just to have their own teams, their own leagues, and the support of the educational institutions. That is just in my lifetime. And I'm seeing what you're talking about, Megan, the places of those women being taken away from them. That offends me on a very deep level. And it is, as you have outlined, a biological difference. Jeff's a distance runner like you are, and he understands, like you do, and that maybe our listeners don't, that there are some biological differences in the way that women and men are put together that make running fundamentally different. There are some puberty changes that happen in both bodies biologically that give women a disadvantage when competing straight on with a male, regardless of how they sexually identify or gender identify. It doesn't matter. How the body is physically built is just simply different. I got an idea. This is just off the top of my head, Megan. This probably not going to endorse this one, but it's just an idea. If we want to have the trans and, again, male athletes inside of the female competition zone, I think the only thing fair to do is that either before a race or spontaneously during competition, that the females participating in the sport are allowed to kick the other participant somewhere uncomfortable, just to even the playing field.
Just to delay a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like when you're lining up for the beginning of the race, the athlete just stands there and all the women can walk by and just, and then we can see how fast he is or she is. We'll see. It's probably not a nice idea.
What's interesting is when you're talking to those people, I think this is the biggest civil rights issue for girls and women of our time.
That's interesting.
They want to argue that it's a big civil rights issue for trans kids. It's a huge civil rights issue for girls and women. Not only are they coming into our sports, it's also a locker room issue as well, where they are in our locker rooms changing fully intact and forcing girls to be in there. So I would argue that this is the biggest civil rights issue for girls. And just because you are pro-female and girls having their own sports category and their own spaces, that doesn't make anyone anti-anything. It's pro-girls and pro-women.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's very clever. I like the idea of taking that civil rights argument and turning it 180 degrees, because I believe that your argument is 110% valid, that it is a civil rights issue for access for women. And I had my mind persuaded a couple of years ago. I was the one that I didn't see the issue with having a transgender athlete inside the women's locker room, because more times than not, the transgender athlete isn't necessarily attracted to the women. However, a very intelligent woman in my life turned to me and said, it's not about the trans, it's about the man. That's fundamentally that her issue was, it didn't matter if it was a trans woman or a actual biological male that is walking in there. Either way, it made her feel uncomfortable. And I went, oh, that's the conversation that we need to have, that it's not necessarily about the trans athlete in the locker room. It's about everybody else in the locker room feeling safe and secure. That's where the conversation needs to start. Then we can expand it and talk to the trans athlete. But That's where it has to start. We have to protect the people inside that locker room right now before we talk about who else walks through that door.
Exactly. It's not, locker rooms aren't the most comfortable place to be in anyway, but can you imagine those poor girls at the NCAA swim meet when they were having to put on their speed suits, which take about 5 full minutes to get on, and Will Thomas, a 6'4" male known as Leah Thomas, is in there changing full genitalia, and the girls are forced to change in there multiple times a day. That's not right.
Yeah, if the behavior or the person inside the locker room makes the people there uncomfortable, then we need to have a conversation about it. And that would be for any individual's behavior at any point in time. People that have been involved in high school athletics know there are sometimes people that act a fool inside of the locker room, even of the same gender and identifying as the same gender as you. That's something that has to be tamped down. If there's bullying, if there's unsort behavior, if someone's, playing jokes inside the locker room, those are all things that have to be dealt with because about the respect of everyone else inside the locker room. And I feel on another level, this is that as well, that we need to ask the people inside the locker room and give them the same respect.
Talking with Megan Kaltenbach Burke. She's the Denver chapter leader for the Independent Women's Network in an effort to protect women's sports that'll be on the ballot, hopefully, this fall. They're out collecting signatures now. And if you want to go be a part of their effort, go to protectkidscolorado.org. That's protectkidscolorado.org. Megan, I got to ask you, I think I saw that the Colorado Teachers Union is against your effort. I could be wrong.
Oh,
but if they are, why?
I think you're right. And I'm not surprised. I mean, they're also making sure that kids can change their pronouns and they don't have to tell the parents. So that's not really that shocking. I think that they think that they're being nice and they're being inclusive, but they're not really thinking about this in a lens that transgender youth has gone up 300% since COVID, I believe. So they think this is only one kid out of 1,000, but this is happening much more. And like I said, in every sport at every level, this is happening. So I think that they think, oh, it's okay to let one boy play in girls' sports, but it's not okay because girls are getting injured. I have a friend in North Carolina who got spiked in the face by a boy. And by the way, an example of boys and girls' sports, the volleyball net is 7 inches higher in boys' sports. There's a reason why we have girls' boys' sports. So she got spiked in the face, knocked out. She still has brain issues. And I think people aren't looking at this. They're trying to be nice and we're inclusive, but it's not nice to force girls on the sideline. It's not nice to have girls be injured in their own sports category and feel unsafe. We are going to deter girls from sports, and sports bring such good things for girls. I think girls have an 80% higher body image when they play sports in high school. I think that females in the C-suite, almost 80% of them played high school sports or sports growing up. It gives you confidence. It teaches you responsibility. And we're pushing girls out of our own sports and our own categories. So I'm not surprised that the teacher union's doing this, but I don't really think they're thinking this through. They think they're being inclusive, but instead they're excluding girls from their own category.
And can I ask you if you know, how is the Olympics dealing with all this? The Olympics starts on Friday. Are dudes allowed to compete against girls in the Olympics?
Luckily, the Olympics stepped up and said no. The problem we're having now is Biden with the Title IX rewrite, which goes into effect August 2nd. So now all of Title IX is rewritten to enforce gender identity. So now not only are girls going to have their scholarships potentially taken, spots on the field, spots on the podium, they also can get their academic scholarships taken. They could get in trouble for using the wrong pronoun. It's a real problem. We have lawsuits all over the country right now, including the Independent Women's Forum. And so hopefully we win those. But like I said, even if the Title IX issue is reversed, we are going to have a problem here in Colorado. And this starts from the bottom up. We need to make sure to even protect girls' youth sports because, like I said, injury or being deterred to play because you're afraid, that's a big deal as well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's a fundamental fairness issue. And it's great to talk with somebody that has such tremendous experience competing at the highest levels. I want to just ask you one more closing question. Tell me about your college career as a Tar Heel.
Yeah, and why does Duke suck?
Go Heels. My career was great. I had a few injuries, but highlight definitely was my DMR. I ran the 1200. We won nationals 2 years in a row, set the American record. And because of sports, I got to go to an amazing university, met my husband, have 2 wonderful little girls, all because of that. And I made the best friendships, got an amazing degree in journalism, and that is all because of sports. And I think we have to think about that when we are pushing girls aside. A lot of girls get to go to college or get to go to the college of their dreams because of sports or because of scholarships. And we have to make sure that boys aren't getting these scholarships instead of girls. Like you said, we fought for years for Title IX, and I feel like I took that for granted, just going to college and getting a full scholarship. I was like, woo. I took Title IX for granted because women have worked so hard, the generations before us, to have that right. And we need to step up for the generations below us, because my girls currently are going to have less opportunities within sports than I did. We are going backwards.
That's exactly right. Talking with Megan Kaltenbach Burke, Denver chapter leader for the Independent Women's Network, a 15-time 5A track and field champion and an NCAA champion at the University of North Carolina. She's part of the effort protectkidscolorado.org, collecting signatures at this point to get onto the ballot this November, the ballot initiative that will protect the sanctity of women's sports. You only have till August 4th to get your signatures in. So go to Protect Colorado or protectkidscolorado.org to find a place where you can sign and add your name. They need signatures, so you've got to step up and help them. Megan, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for helping in the efforts and getting the word out there to save girls and women's sports in Colorado. It is really awesome, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Could you imagine Megan in the neighborhood 5K?
Oh, God. No. Oh, God.
I bet she still's got that speed.
Oh,
too.
I bet she does. I bet she does.
Megan, thanks again for being on the
so
program. Billy, speaking of getting your speed back.
Yeah. See, we were just talking about athletes and the things that go wrong with your body. I was a college athlete, and boy, do I have a lot more wrong than just my mind. I have got a real problem with my lower back, my shoulder. I've got knee problems, ankle. It's a long list. We can't go through it all now, but I want you to fight your pain the same way that I am. I want you to meet the medical team that is making a huge difference in my life, Balance Wellspace. You can visit them at balancewellspace.com. They have become my one-stop shop for what ails me. They are taking care of things that are going wrong in my body on a level I haven't experienced in years. Yeah, I've been to the one shot, the chiropractor. I've been over here and I've gone to that doctor. I've gone to that doctor to look at this thing. None of it has worked. The difference that Balance Wellspace is making in my life is it is transformational because it's integrative medicine. Everything you need, one appointment, no more driving around town, one appointment, one day, not something later in the week and then next week and the week after. Plus, the team evaluates your progress regularly. We're talking about chiropractic, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more. Plus, they have some amazing cutting-edge therapy that I'm excited to get one of my kids involved with as well, because it's something that she's dealing with. So again, they are an amazing shop that is just new here in Colorado. They're right across the street from Hangar 2 in Lowry. Plenty of parking, so easy to find. BalanceWellspace.com. You can go say hi to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, Sarah, B, the entire team. I went in yesterday. I got my evaluation. They went in, they looked at me, they moved me around a little bit before we actually did a lot of the work. And my right hip has been giving me pain for a long time because I have a huge problem in my lower back. You want to talk about neuropathy, those tingling, that pain, that weakness in your legs? I got it, but it's based on sciatica. They can do amazing things for your neuropathy. Yesterday, my right hip that's been killing me for at least 9 months because of what's going wrong with my back, I had 30 degrees more pain-free movement yesterday. And that's after 12 appointments. This is ridiculous. The stuff that they're doing for me, they've got this electronic shock thing, Synexus. They put all over my back with these suction cups, and you lay there for 20 minutes, and oh my goodness. Oh, wow. It's like an electronic massage, and it has loosened up the muscles in my back, the muscles that were tensing up, that were causing other problems. A lot of times your body will compensate for an injury that you have by making your body do other things, and that leads to a further injury. They're going to get to the core of what hurts you, and they're going to fix it. I want them to work with you and help you with your pain, the suffering. I thought it was going to be a daily thing. I thought this is just my life. I thought it was that, Louis C.K. ad or, bit where he talks about go to the doctor and doctor, it hurts when I do this with my knee. The doctor's like, well, your knee does that now. Stop doing it. That's what I thought my life was. It's not anymore based on what I've experienced at Balance Wellspace. Go talk to Dr. Julie and the rest of the team, an entire team working to make sure that you feel better than you have in absolute years. BalanceWellspace.com. BalanceWellspace.com. I want them to make a difference in your life like they're making a difference in mine.
That's great to hear, Billy. All right, we'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Millions of people in Taiwan are hunkering down as a powerful typhoon approaches the island. Forecasters say it's the strongest storm the region has seen in more than 8 years. From Hong Kong, Laura Westbrook reports.
Here in Hong Kong, we are experiencing very hot weather because of the effects of Typhoon Gaimi. Over in Taiwan, people are bracing themselves for this very powerful typhoon. It's bringing with it heavy rain and strong winds, and the government has given people the day off work. Schools have been suspended, and the financial markets closed in preparation for this typhoon. They've also evacuated some 4,000 people from remote mountainous areas because of the fears of landslides because of that torrential rain. As this typhoon passes through Taiwan, it was expected to hit China's Fujian province on Thursday.
25,000 people have been evacuated as a wildfire burns out of control in Canada. The blaze is burning near the town of Jasper. The evacuation orders have impacted vacationers visiting the famed Jasper National Park, as well as the township itself. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great conversation with Megan Kaltenbach Burke. She's a 15-time 5A track and field champion. Woo! Fast, man. 4:43, Billy.
Are you going to tell us what your time was?
I've got to go back and remember it. I was down close to that at my very, 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 very peak.
Yeah.
And when you get down below the fives, every second is a huge achievement. When you go from like 444 to 443, you're like, yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm faster.
Oh yeah. That is hard, and I remember the sprints and things that we had at doing soccer, and that's the thing that I find fascinating about the fact that you're a distance runner, because I hated distance running in soccer training.
I hate running too.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I
I ran in high school and for at least the first year of college.
And then you do the adventure running
I love
thing.
Racing.
Oh, it's the
Hate
race side of
running.
it. Oh,
It's the racing.
See, for me, I was pushed back with the head soccer coach, because we do the mile run, 2 mile, 3 mile, and I'd turn back and say, can you just please outline to me when inside of the match I'm going to have to run continuously for a mile? Why is this helping me? My thing was always recovery. It was always recovery.
Yeah.
I needed sprint, recovery, sprint, recovery, sprint, recovery. That's what would help me.
The kids out of all the sports, the kids that could hang with the track kids were the soccer kids.
Oh yeah.
Because you guys run the entire time for 90 minutes.
Oh yeah. My favorite thing was the back in the day, you'd go to Red Rocks, and people remember this when they used to let you line up down at the base, and then they'd open up the gates and you could run up there so like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it was the first 15 rows were all GA. And so you could do whatever you wanted. Yeah, us soccer players were the ones that ran.
And got the best seats.
Yeah, we were first row all the time because of that, because we're running uphill at a higher altitude. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we did all the time. That was a huge advantage. And yeah, I miss the ability to do that. I can't run very well at all anymore. It's awful.
We shuffle, man.
Yeah, I look like some sort of an injured animal. It's awful.
Well, it was a great conversation with her. If you want to join the effort to protect women's sports, and in fact, there's a number of ballot initiatives out there to kind of take on the gender identity stuff, go to protectkidscolorado.org, protectkidscolorado.org. That's coming up very quick. They got to get the signatures, and they were kind of held back. This title board that's happened at the Colorado state capitol was supposed to be a generally neutral organization that just essentially made sure that the issue was kind of a single issue, but that in itself has become partisan. They had to do all these lawsuits. They had to fight just to get these ballot initiatives on the ability to collect signatures for these ballot initiatives. So it's a great organization working there. And then the other one is parental notification for gender incongruence. So those are the two big ones. Keep boys out of girls' sports. And if you've got a kid that's going through gender transition, the parents need to know about it. You can't hide it from the kids, which you're seeing that happen in California as well. Billy, there's an amazing political ad that's come out.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yep. I think we got the, yep, here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
This is I think a U.S. senator in Missouri.
Okay.
And he's got a message to the immigrants of Missouri.
I'm Bill Eigel. I'm running for governor to crack down on illegal immigration.
Él es Bill Eigel y tomará medidas enérgicas contra la inmigración ilegal.
No more taxpayer handouts for illegals, period. Nada. Zilch. Zero.
No más ilegales, no más dinero, no más fiestas.
We're throwing them in jail and sending them back where they came from.
Ay, caramba.
Andre, arriba. It's time to take Missouri back.
No más fiestas.
Yeah, that was a good. Yeah, the Spanish translation is good, but
ay, caramba.
That's a little sore there at the end. Is that arriba. That's I mean that's all, you're pulling back to Speedy Gonzalez. You're being a little.
He went right in the eye.
Yeah, it's a little stereotypical. Although the problem, it's wonderful. It's very emotional. It plays well. It's also stupid and impractical because of the word that he uses, illegal. And you and I have this discussion all the time.
Yes,
and
we
the
do.
And the issue being that as soon as someone declares asylum, they're temporarily legal. So the idea of him saying no more illegals, guess who he can't move out of the state? Anybody who claimed asylum. And regardless of whether or not we believe and think that they're doing it credibly or not, he can't touch them. And that he's making a promise that he can't cash inside of the office. This is dangerous for him to set up, but emotionally, does it feel good?
So let me describe it for you, since you can't see it online if you're listening to us on the radio. The dude stands there with a Mexican translator and tells the illegal immigrants they're going home or going to jail. No more parties. And then the guy's got to translate it. And then at the end, no más.
Yeah.
What is party? No más
parties.
fiestas.
Yeah, no más fiestas.
And
the translator is smaller than the candidate is and looks kind of like Guillermo on the Jimmy Kimmel show. If you know that late night, that's what he kind of looks like. So that's the persona that he's playing. For me, it's dangerous. The Ariba thing at the end, that tail end close, that gets a little spooky only because people that could be persuaded by that message could see that as being too stereotypical of, being, and that's the only thing is I think that whoever put that ad together, there's a better way to close it.
What a time in America where Mike Johnston gets up and talks about how much he loves all the newcomers and the great contributions they're doing. And then you have a guy in Missouri running for governor who gets a translator to tell the immigrants, you're going home or you're going to jail.
Yep, but only the illegal ones. And that's where he's made the tactical mistake, because the vast majority of those in his state are not going to be, quote, illegal. They will be in the process at some point or another, and he can't touch them. And that's a problem.
I didn't take Spanish. What is it? I caramba.
I took Spanish first, second, and third grade. Caramba. It's I caramba.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Want to talk to you all about my friends at Empower Home and Gay Ribble. We've had Gay Ribble multiple times here into the studio. She's an absolutely delightful person. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team help you sell your home and get it done right. Their program guarantees your home will sell without even having to list it, and at the same time getting you top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team guarantee the sale, ensuring a seamless process, eliminating the stress while getting you the best price, and you get paid twice with their Sell with Certainty program. So give Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team a call today at 833-301-SOLD. Look, your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. The Empower Home team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs a unique system to maximize the money you can get for your home. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team today by giving them a call at 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Can you translate that to Spanish?
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show in the 9 o'clock hour. The man himself, Representative Ron Weinberg, is going to be joining us, but it's not under good circumstances.
No, not
Denver
at all.
Post reporting State Representative Ron Weinberg gets police patrols around his home after receiving threatening crosshairs Facebook post. The dude or person, I don't know who did this, is also going after Representative Lauren Boebert and Commissioner candidate Ben Ast. My goodness. Come on. Pull it together. We just had an assassination attempt take place in this country. We're going to talk to Ron next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, Most of the time, pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, State Representative Ron Weinberg faced a threat on Facebook just recently. Now, the Denver Post reporting that police are having to patrol his house. Similar person went after Representative Lauren Boebert and Commissioner candidate Ben Ast up in the northern part of Denver, Loveland area. So we're going to talk to Representative Ron Weinberg about this. And my goodness, you would think after the attempted assassination attempt that took place against Donald Trump recently, we might want to tone things down, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll get some details from Representative Ron Weinberg on this. But let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. Great show today. 75 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 95 today as the smoke from Canada hopefully clears. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
California, I took on the big Wall Street banks and held them accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts.
And there you have it. They tried to destroy his name, weaponize the justice system in bogus trials, slap the tag on him, try to kill him if he doesn't go down, and then tell the low information voters that Trump's the convicted criminal and you're the good guy or gal, even though you're the one who wanted to defund the police. No one's actually voted for you, and you incite violence better than anyone. Her priority is the deep state and the leftist groups who hate America, Israel, and the Jews.
I will never attempt to stifle or silence young people from expressing their concerns. That is part of what we do in a democracy, is allow that to occur. My position on the issue remains, as I've repeated now a couple of times, but it is important that we create environments for our young leaders to express themselves.
How about the old ones? Brian Mast from Florida.
Vice President Harris does not give a rat's caboose. She doesn't care about the United States of America in any place, policy, anything that I've seen. The policies are the same crap policies that exist under Biden, just with a different face. And those policies are bad for America, bad for putting America first.
And always remember, she is the border czar.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Harris won't be present at Bibi Netanyahu's address today at noon in front of Congress. She had a prior engagement with her sorority sisters, but says she'll meet with him later. The Prime Minister of Israel will no doubt hear from Hamas supporters in D.C. who are creating chaos in the nation's capital. About a dozen other Congress men and women will not be present today in protest as well.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
President Biden will address the nation tonight at 6 Denver time from the Oval Office. This will be his first on-camera appearance since Pelosi and Schumer told him, all right, listen, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectful? You'd come to me in friendship.
One person is dead after a Thornton police officer shot and killed a suspect early this morning. It occurred west of I-25 near Thornton Parkway and Gale Boulevard near Federal Heights outside an apartment complex. The officer was shot by the suspect, is expected to be okay. Health officials are again urging everyone to avoid touching Colorado's wildlife this summer. 3 bats in Boulder County have tested positive for rabies. That makes 26 animals in the state who've come down with the deadly disease. Speaking of wildlife, Chuck Schumer.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Awkward. Red Sox shut out the Rockies 6-0 getaway day today at Coors Field. First pitch 1:10. Hey, opening ceremony isn't until Friday, but the Paris Olympics are underway today. The first soccer and rugby matches are being played. 73 in Louisville, 73 in Englewood, and 75 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is Wednesday, the Power Hour right now. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. A smoky haze and continued hot. Highs will be 90s today, 90s on Thursday, low 90s Friday. Today and Thursday will be smoky, hazy, and dry. Nights in the 60s. Not as hazy and smoky. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Todd Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Denver Post reporting that State Representative Ron Weinberg gets police patrols around home after receiving threatening crosshairs Facebook post. Republican U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert facing same problem from a similar guy. Police mounted patrols Sunday night around the Loveland house of Republican state lawmaker Ron Weinberg after someone posted a message on Facebook saying he and U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert, along with a GOP candidate running for Larimer County Commissioner, should be, quote, put in the crosshairs, unquote. Weinberg, who serves in the House, said the comment was made on the Facebook page of a Loveland politics group on Sunday afternoon. So let me get this right. You have the assassination attempt 8 days prior to this. Then this Sunday, some guy posts that elected officials in Colorado need to be put into crosshairs. The report continues. My initial reaction was safety for my wife and 2 kids, he told the Denver Post by phone on Monday. Drew Sexton, campaign manager for Boebert, said Weinberg spoke to him Sunday night about the threat. He said the Republican Congresswoman, who also lived in Larimer County since her decision late last year to run for Colorado's 4th congressional district, was in Washington, D.C. on Sunday night, but that the campaign is reaching out to Capitol Police to inquire about the additional protection that might be needed. Joining the Jeff and Bill show is State Representative Ron Weinberg. Thanks so much for being on the program, and I'm so sorry you and your family are having to go through this.
Yeah, this is awful.
Absolutely. Good morning, guys. You know, it's unfortunate, but comes with the territory with being in politics, I guess.
I mean, you saw the post Sunday night. What was your first reaction?
Family and kids. I have I have 2 kids, 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and my wife. And then we have the parade this weekend. So inciting violence is not exactly the smartest thing to do, in my opinion.
Well, and this just comes a little over a week after the attempted assassination attempt of Donald Trump, which was the first one in 41 years. So everybody's on heightened alert, because when you drive language like this guy said, now is the time to put crosshairs on the Christian nationalists running in Larimer County, Bobblehead Boebert, Scrapyard Benny, and Mr. Militia Weinberg. You got to take this stuff seriously, because some people are taking this stuff seriously. So when you called the police,
exactly right.
what was the response from the local police?
I'm so grateful for our law enforcement, Loveland PD, Sheriff's Department, the CSP. Everyone has taken this very seriously. They're working diligently. Patrols are on the house. They're watching over us, and I'm just so grateful for them, really, because they've really stepped up. They've taken it seriously. They've provided comfort for my wife, of all people. So.
Oh, and Ron, I was telling Billy this. At one point, the husband of a current congresswoman here in Colorado insinuated that Antifa should go after me. And I called the police immediately because it's my job as a husband to protect my family, and you can't just dismiss these online threats. When you're going through this, Representative Weinberg, and you see what they've done to Donald Trump, and then you see this post happen, do you genuinely feel that your safety is at threat?
You know, the person that posted, he has threatened us in the past, and nothing has come about. When I was the chairman of the party, he did say he was going to punch me in the face if he saw me out in public. He does live in Loveland. We know where he is. I've never had a face-to-face encounter with him. My concern is not necessarily him. My concern is who else is reading that post, which even today, they're still going on. I mean, there's like 88 plus comments. So people are just going after it. And it's who's going to read the post and react to the violence. And that's really my main concern, is who's going to take his words seriously and try to do something to me or my family. So and again, the biggest concern for this timing wise was we have the Larimer County Fair Parade this weekend, and people are not walking through metal detectors to go and line in the streets for this 1.5 mile route. I'm a sitting duck, and so is my kids, and so is my wife. So, you know, we're working through now with the sheriff's office. Obviously, I can't reveal too much, but I don't know if I would say I'm concerned, but I have to keep eyes open.
Well, have they contacted him? Do you know if they've directly spoken to him?
I'm kind of just sitting in the wings at this point and trusting them to do their job. I haven't contacted them to ask them what they've done yet. I'm kind of just letting time take its toll, and you know, I'll ask for a report probably tomorrow at some point just to see what exactly has been done and make sure that everything is properly handled. But I trust law enforcement. I really do. Everything they've done so far is given me no reason to doubt them. So I'm just kind of letting them do their things and staying in the wings.
Well, to your point too, you know, about other people reading this stuff, it was Joe Biden who said we need to put Trump in the crosshairs and go after him. And then some unknown 20-year-old in Pennsylvania, you know, takes the shot. So you never know who can be inspired by particular inflammatory language. Do you think, Representative Ron Weinberg, that down at the state capitol, things are getting more heated? There's more division. Is the rhetoric getting worse down there? Or do you think that maybe in light of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, that perhaps they're going to kind of pull back the language this next session?
I'll tell you honestly, with certain, I won't even mention their names because they're not worth mentioning in my opinion, with certain candidates that on the left side that actually lost their primaries are showing that people in this state don't want the extreme, and even the Democrats are showing it with how they voted in the primary. So I actually do have a lot more hope for this next session coming up. I think we are going to actually return back to common sense, not all the way, but at least start making progress to being more of the common sense side of things. So I actually do have hope for the Democrats and the Republicans this next session, honestly.
Colorado State Republican Ron Weinberg joining Jeff and Bill live. Ron and his family have been the subject of a credible threat, along with another Colorado lawmaker and Lauren Boebert as well. We've been talking last week or so about the violence that is becoming inherent in our political system. What I want to know from you, Representative Weinberg, is are Americans, and especially American voters, getting more comfortable with the idea of violence being political? Should we expect more of this in the future?
I mean, look what just happened to President Trump. I hope not, for Pete's sake. I hope not. I really do hope not, because there's no place for it. We can argue and disagree with words. That's how the system is built. When we start making attempts at each other's lives, the whole republic falls apart. I mean, I tweeted yesterday just randomly. I was having lunch and just pondering all of this in my head. And I don't normally tweet. I'm not a big social media guy. I don't even like social media. But I have to say, the one thing that popped in my head was with Abraham Lincoln, right? A house divided against itself, cannot stand. So, and that's really how I feel. We've got to stop this division. We're not enemies. We're Americans. And we've got to love this country together. We can disagree with how we think we're going to make this country better, but we have to use words.
Yeah, we do. We do have to choose our words carefully, Representative Weinberg. And that opens up a nice conversation. Next is, can you comment on the level of political discourse and the inclusion of violence? I'm of the opinion that over the previous 15 years, we have begun to frame our political challenges as existential challenges to not only America, but also to our lives. We've heard both sides in our current political cycle for presidency talk about how if the other political party wins, it is the end of fill in the blank. Democracy, America, freedom, doesn't matter. But the problem is, it's a fill in the blank. Can you talk to us about how our political language has gotten to a level where violence seems implicit?
Yeah, I remember, all the way back to when Bush and Obama, and I mean, this was how many people said Obama was going to get assassinated, and Bush is going to destroy the country, and 9/11 was a conspiracy, and so the language is definitely, it's just gotten worse. I mean, to the point where, look, again, former President Trump got shot in the ear, milliseconds away from, losing his life. So the violence in the country has definitely gotten worse. It has not gotten better. And this whole polarizing politics that we keep playing, trying to make Democrats and Republicans so different to the point where they have to be enemies and start a civil war is just not right. And I'm completely against it, I'll be honest.
I agree with you. Representative Ron Weinberg responding to a credible threat, a Facebook post against him, a similar threat against Lauren Boebert. By the way, I want to point this out. The threat calls Representative Ron Weinberg a Christian nationalist. Representative, you are Jewish. Real quick, last question. Are you looking forward to the speech of Benjamin Netanyahu in the joint session that's going to be taking place today? And what do you hope to see from this?
Absolutely. I want to see what he needs. What is he asking for? It's who better to literally tell us what is going on and what's happening from his mouth. So yes, I am looking forward to what he's got to say, and it's going to be an interesting day. I mean, we're in an interesting time in politics in multiple fronts, right?
Yeah, I mean, the anti-Semitic protests that were taking place at the U.S. Capitol yesterday, it is shocking that not only do you have to deal with radical leftist threats, but that you have to deal with threats because of your own religious background as well, Representative Weinberg. Well, we're getting text messages here of people that are standing with you, that hope you got a good concealed carry permit going on, and we know that you'll do what's necessary to defend you and your family. But our listeners, their thoughts and prayers are with you. Thank you for being a public service in the midst of the personal threats you're facing. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I love you guys, love your listeners, and love the Judeo-Christian united front. Nothing's going to stop us. I promise you that much.
That's right. Representative Ron Weinberg taking time from his day to join us. His website, weinbergforcolorado.com, WEINBERG for Colorado.com. If you want to sign up and learn more about his leadership at the state capitol. Great to have him with us.
God, that's scary. That just thinking about what he's going through, because it is somewhat of an anonymous threat, and that he's out in public, and the idea of going to a parade with his family, and that he becomes an open target. And the problem with that is that, think about it. Jeff, you, our listeners, what would you do in that situation? Because if you turtle and say, okay, I'm not going to go to this public event, then anybody that wants to prevent you from going to a particular event or showing your support somewhere can look at a way to make you bend to their will. But by showing up, you're putting not only yourself, but potentially your family in danger too. And for me, as a dad, I'm not sure I could bring the wife and the kids to the parade. It would be one that I would have to go ahead and I would be there, because I'm not going to back down. But I can't fathom putting my family in that situation. I also can't fathom someone that would think that's the right answer inside of our political discourse, that these disagreements that we have need to be settled with bullets. That scares me.
Here's what I'm worried about, Billy.
Yeah, please.
The notoriety.
Ooh,
what happened with these stupid school shooters.
Yeah.
These losers.
Yeah.
These idiots. These guys, mostly guys.
Yeah.
That are absolute losers in every area of life, and then pull a stunt like this and then get all the notoriety that comes with it.
And I'm thinking that is, when we get down to it, that's going to be part of the Trump shooters' motivation. I think
you're right.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a political, because I think if it was political, we would have seen it. Because if it was political, I would have thought a manifesto. Yeah, there would have been something, because now you can see why I'm doing this. But instead, I think that the shooter was searching for something to make his life significant, and he felt disaffected. He was angry at life and at society, and the way that he could show everybody how angry he was inside and the pain that he was feeling inside was to take down the president. And then we all remember that name then sits in the history books forever. And that's why I do not say the shooter's name, for exactly that reason.
Good. I appreciate it. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're just hearing from Representative Ron Weinberg. Police now guarding his house after a credible Facebook threat over the weekend. Only about a week removed from the attempted assassination effort of Donald Trump. Just incredible what our politics have come to. Hey, I want to talk to you about, on a lighter note, Rocky Mountain Dental Group. I was born with bad teeth. It's a genetic issue. One of the text messengers yesterday was like, you must be British. Bingo, I absolutely am. It's like the dominant genetic background for me. And so I spent a lot of time in the dentist's office, and with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to talk to you about Dr. Mike at the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you ever need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address the issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning of the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335. That's 303-233-1335, or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. We'll get to the phones and texts next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. President Biden will address the nation tonight, just days after announcing his withdrawal from the 2024 election race. In a post online, the president said he will address the country from the Oval Office on what lies ahead and how he plans to finish the job for the American people. President Biden's address will take place at 8 p.m. Eastern, with full reaction right here on Salem News Channel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, where he will address a joint session of Congress. Protesters have promised a, quote, day of rage in the US Capitol over Israel's conduct during its ongoing war in Gaza. Ira Spitzer reports.
Benjamin Netanyahu's U.S. visit is his first trip abroad since the October 7th attacks by Hamas, which sparked the current phase of this conflict, which has now killed tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Vice President Kamala Harris, the expected Democratic presidential nominee, won't attend the congressional address, citing a scheduling conflict, but she is expected to meet Netanyahu as well as U.S. President Joe Biden later in the week. Netanyahu is also expected to meet the Republican nominee for President Donald Trump in Florida on Friday.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Going to be a hot one today, 95 degrees, hazy and dry. It continues that way. Finally get some scattered storms on Friday and Saturday. But I love this time of year. I'm a hot weather type of guy, man.
Look, I start sweating in places
I'm
I
so
shouldn't
happy.
be sweating.
It feels like a warm blanket.
Ridiculous. It's just awful. Hey, this is Red Hot Chili Peppers we're playing in the
Oh,
background.
yeah.
Someday we'll talk a
I
little bit
saw
more.
them in person once.
Yeah. I partied with them one time early
With
in the
Flea
career.
and John Kiedis.
Yeah.
No, Mike. What is Kiedis?
No, Anthony Kiedis.
Anthony
Anthony
Kiedis,
Kiedis, no.
and then John Fuentes.
No, it was before John Fuente joined the band. This is back when Hillel Slovak was still in the band.
Oh,
when they
yeah.
were first touring, I had Flea, mostly inebriated, do backflips off of my friend's car. We partied with them in a parking lot, but that's for another day.
Did you wear the sock like they did?
They did wear the socks in the show, yes. So, but I did not. That is it's a Red Hot Chili Pepper song, Under the Bridge. It's not supposed to be a Red Hot Chili Pepper song. Was never intended to be. They're working with Rick Rubin on producing on the latest album.
Yeah, he wrote that about a friend that died of heroin.
Yeah, it's Hillel Slovak, the guitarist.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
his best friend. Yeah, it's Hillel Slovak that died of heroin overdose, and it's in a book of poetry. And during a break, Rubin starts going through looking for some other ideas and grabs Anthony's book of poetry, finds this poem and goes, dude, we got to do this. And Anthony's like, no, way too personal. There's no way. So Rick Rubin had to persuade Anthony Kiedis to bring it to the band to say, can we do this? He didn't want to make it a song.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Very cool. I want to get to Gary here in just a second, but I want to talk to you all about QC Kinetics. Life in Colorado is awesome this time of year. I agree. I love it. It's warm outside. Get outside, but not so much if you got that joint and pain problems in your knees and shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatments using regenerative medicine. Why is this important? Because once you start slicing and dicing in surgery, you end up with so many other complications. And this new regenerative medicine harnesses the healing power from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissues. It's happened to so many of our listeners and even staff here at 710 KNUS who have had the work done with QC Kinetics, and they're so grateful they're pain-free. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. This is the future of medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with just a free consultation. They have clinics in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and Colorado Springs. If your shoulder or back is always hurting, if it hurts you to walk or lift something, you need to check them out and get the lasting relief you deserve. Do it now so you can enjoy the rest of the Colorado summertime. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics. Give them a call at 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com. Let's go to the phone lines. Gary, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. I agree with you that words are important when it comes to political violence, because a lot of what's said is listened to by people who are angry or mentally ill or on drugs. And I've found that both TV and radio shows, sometimes they'll profess to be careful with your words, and then they'll use bad words. Like just recently, I heard someone say, "Well, Donald Trump," and I'm going to vote for Trump because I like the Republican policies. But they'll say Donald Trump, they tried to impeach him, they tried to bankrupt him, and then they throw in, and they tried to kill him. And that to me could incite violence, because a sick person might listen to that and say, "Oh, this is the news, and they're telling me the news, and the Democrats tried to kill Trump, so I'm going to go out and try to kill a Democrat."
No, I think that's a fair critique, and I think they and if you listen to the analysis that we did during the assassination attempt, we were on air for 2.5 hours, no commercial break. Peter Boyles and I and Blake Olson kept saying, this could be one of three things, right? It could be an assassination attempt by somebody within our government. That's one of the options that was out there. 2 was this could be a foreign actor. And this was before we knew anybody's name. Or 3, this could be an individual that engaged in this solely on their own desire. Now, it looks like it's the 3rd option. I have not seen any evidence that there was a they, whether it was an internal effort within our own country or an external effort. I don't see any idea that it was a they outside of that. But Peter and I kept saying, you got to wait for all the facts that came out. And there was one person that called in that day that said the Democrats are going to get what's coming to them. And to Peter's credit, he really pressed back on that. So you're right. You're right, Gary, that you got to make sure that when you're using broad terms like they or the Democrats are going to get what's coming to them in light of all this, that could incite violence.
Yeah, Jeff, and I heard that conversation that Peter had, and good for him. But I've watched all of the testimony by the FBI, Secret Service. It's pretty obvious that this was a 20-year-old pimple-faced kid who had problems, and he was the lone gunman. And yet today, in the last hour, I heard your, quote, newsreader said, and then they tried to kill him. And that was today, about 30 minutes ago, your newsreader, I forget his name, but he said that. So you might want to...
Yeah, I get that one, Gary, but here's the thing is, with what we ask Blake to do here, is only window dressing, calling it news. I mean, okay, I'm going to pull back the curtain. What we want Blake to do here is not do anything close to what you would say is a typical newscast. We want him purposefully to break every single news rule possible. And the reason being, at that time of the hour, with the people we compete against, we don't want to compete straight up with news. We think that's silly. What we want to do, and that's why we brought in Blake, because Blake is not a newscaster. He's a sports guy. And so he doesn't have any news rules inside of his body. He has no idea about rules, regulations, what he should be doing. We want him to be heavily opinionated and, just like what you said, make those statements that sometimes get a little bit prickly, because we want it to be an audience differentiator. It is purposeful on our end. I get the critique. However, I just would say that just for Blake's reputation, don't call him a newsman. He doesn't call himself a newsman, but we do it just performatively to say it's a newscast because that's what people expect. But our expectation of what he does is in no way, shape, or form anything close to news. In fact, if anybody is an actual journalist out there and hears him, they are going to rip their hair out. They're going to say that is the worst thing ever.
Billy.
Yeah, but that's the reason we do it. But it's a fair critique.
No, Billy, I appreciate it. And that's why I said, quote, newsreader. I understand what he's doing. It was just, about they tried to kill him. That was kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I understand the critique, but I don't think it's at quite the same level as we've got to put Donald Trump in the crosshairs, or we've got to put Ron Weinberg, that Christian nationalist who's actually Jewish, in the crosshairs.
Yeah, and I'm not sure
that's
it's the same
a different
level
than saying they in a broad category, but toning down the rhetoric, I think is important.
And I think it's the same thing like putting that Trump is equal to Hitler. And that also that Joe Biden and the Democrats are Marxists. And the reason that's, for me, dangerous language is because it's that typical question that everybody has. It's that philosophy question that Jeff sometimes likes, and you might like too, Gary. It's that idea of, if you could, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? It's that moral question. And the idea being that if you really think that Donald Trump is the incarnation of Hitler, you don't have to kill a baby. You can kill a full-grown dude. And if you think that Joe Biden is taking us down the path of Marxism, and this is going to be, oddly enough, closer to something Putin would want, which is weird given the support of the Republicans for Putin. But if you think that's the direction you're going, then why wouldn't you pick up any firearm you have and take out the guy who is trying to destroy the country? And I think that's part of the danger, that is loaded inside of those terms. And I'm using loaded purposefully.
Billy, here's a question I got for you, just philosophically, and this is where two dudes that got philosophy, and Gary, feel free to jump in on this as well. This country's not totally immune to political violence.
No, not at all.
I remember, I think I remember them saying that, or they tried to pin JD Vance down on this. Would you ever engage? Would you ever engage in political violence? And I'm sitting there going, well, July 4th was.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and then we fought a civil war. So help me. And this is just one of those, this is a philosophical conversation,
and you can also say KKK political violence to a certain extent. There are levels of it that go on.
Because
Black Panthers.
Yeah, right. And I have spoken out against the idea. I never want this country to go to civil war again. Ever. The amount of fellow Americans that died. And when you're shooting bullets at each other, that's a really bad situation. But as a philosophy major who likes to just play with ideas in theoretical areas, is all political violence bad?
Ooh, Gary, I want you to have first bite at that apple. What do you think? Is all political violence bad, Gary?
No. And out of respect for other callers, I won't go into detail, but I think I would need to have a definition of political violence. But my first sense is no.
Interesting. Yeah, I respect that.
Because in many ways, we're a country founded on political violence.
Yeah. And the issue being that if someone, let's just say that, 100 years in the future, America's still around, and someone decides that, that slavery thing, let's try that again. Political violence in that situation seems appropriate. It seems absolutely appropriate in that situation. But again, like Gary says, how do we define political violence? And again, it's transitional, dependent upon that situation. And that's scary.
So there was a great book written years ago about how revolutions happen, right? Yeah. Like if can we go study countries and figure out, is there a recipe for revolution? And basically it comes down to this. If there's no pressure release valve.
Oh, yeah.
There ends up being violent revolutions. So you have to have pressure release valves. And what do I mean by that? You need to have different branches of government with different powers. You need to have the ability to have free and fair elections so that if people are frustrated, well, they can change the people. And it's when you start to shut those down, which is what happened at the beginning of our country. So if you go back and read the Declaration of Independence, you actually realize this has nothing to do about tea in Boston or anything like that. It has to do with the breakdown of checks and balances and the ability to release pressure when political pressure builds. So, for instance, the king was the chief executive. So you wanted to go talk to the chief executive, you got on a boat and you went across an ocean and he didn't care about anything you said.
Yeah.
Number two, he got to control the colonies' legislative processes. He could call little legislative meetings whenever he wanted, wherever he wanted, and he could replace them whenever he wanted to. So he had no direct representation.
Yeah, it was patronage. Yeah.
Yep. And then all the judges were paid by the king.
Yeah.
So you were stuck. So pressure builds and builds, and then you get political violence. This country, for all the complaints we had over the last election and whether or not it was rigged or free and fair, we still have free and fair elections, and we still have the ability to release political pressure. When that starts to go away, when the systems start to get rigged and you don't have checks and balances, that's when I start to get concerned as a country. But as of right now, America has those pressure release valves. And that's why I condemn any effort to call for like a civil war again, or we're going to take up arms, or like that guy that called the day that assassination took place and said, well, Democrats are going to get what's coming to them. No, they aren't, because we have the ability to change things in this country and we don't have to resort to political violence. But yeah. All right, Gary, appreciate the call.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much.
Oh, I got another take on that one, but we should do that in a second.
All right, let's do it in a second.
Something that what you're talking about, based on the language that's going on right now, that perhaps what we're seeing are those pressure valves evaporating. And maybe that's why we're seeing threats against Representative Weinberg, threats against Boebert and other lawmakers. But we'll discuss how that political speech is basically making people feel that those pressure valves don't exist anymore. We'll talk about that in a sec.
I want to talk to you all first about advanced hair restoration. You know that Jeff and Bill Show is the top-rated talk radio program by Westward Magazine. Well, our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration are the top hair restoration company by Westward as well. Everyone always asks, what makes advanced hair restoration different? First off, they stand by their results, and their before and afters are second to none. With advanced hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, advanced hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick, it's simple, and it's easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, it's here. Advanced Hair's summer savings event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. And you got the flexibility this summer. So for details and to schedule a free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and afters at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. 720-459-HAIR. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've had an absolutely fantastic day talking with Kristi Burton Brown while she called for the resignation of Dave Williams, state party chair. That was fascinating. And then Megan Kaltenbach Burke, a 15-time 5A track and field champion, helping lead the effort to protect women's sports, joined us in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Representative Ron Weinberg in the 9 o'clock hour, talking about a direct threat against his family. And that's where the conversation's been this hour, about political violence.
Yeah, and we were talking about political violence right before the break. And here's a question that I've got. The language that we've been using, not only the idea that elections are stolen, or the idea that the economy is going to crash, or we'll never have an election again, or even the idea, and we're going to talk to someone from them later in the week, Project 2025, how it will fundamentally change the fabric of American society. If you believe that the elections are stolen, if you believe that one party is going to fundamentally change the fabric of America, isn't it your duty then to respond with violence? And that's where I see the danger of a false narrative like, hey, it was stolen, they stole it, they took it. Then if that's the case, then you have to commit political violence. If you believe that the Democrats are trying to fundamentally change America and make us a communist nation, then doesn't it behoove you as an American citizen to be violent? And I think that's dangerous.
It's a conversation that can go in a lot of different directions, Billy, because where does self-restraint come into all that, right?
If only we had another hour.
Because we're not advocating for suicide bombing.
No, not at all.
But we are both philosophical nerds. All right, you've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Charlie Kirk's up next.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.